Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, and today I have one half of Geek Dad Live. It's not Geek Dad Life. That is the actual channel that Jay owns. It is Geek Dad Live. It took me a long time to actually find that out. So it used to be called Toy Geeks, actually. But anyway, I got one half. He pops in. You see him all the time, which I think is absolutely awesome. They do a wonderful show over there. But anyway, let's just get into it. My special guest, Quip. How are you doing?
Hey, I am doing well. How are you doing this evening?
I'm excellent, man. Like it's this show is so easy for me to do now. Monday is all about spending usually a Sunday putting slides together. Guys, believe it or not, I actually do that, even though I half the time don't know what's in there. This is I asked somebody to come on. We talk a little bit before, and then we go live and I ask a few questions. We have a wonderful conversation. It's easy, but it's I'm most proud of this, to be honest. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that you were like, hey, you know what? Sure, I'd love to come on, and it worked out perfect because I don't think any of us, well, there are people that have to work tomorrow. I don't.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you do, I'm sorry.
Hopefully, you'll
But,
be off in time to get a burger, some hot
yeah.
dogs, something like that, to relax. So,
So how
but yeah,
how was your day? And thank you for joining.
thank you for having me. I'm happy to be on. As you had mentioned, I'm always up for just chopping it up, talking toys. Live streams are are way easier than putting together the specific content. It's not to say that there isn't the work that goes on behind it.
I
But
understand.
when you're doing that long form content of, okay, you're researching and then you have to write the script for what you're going to say. And then you try to say it out loud and you're like, these words don't make sense coming out of my mouth, or they don't want to come out of my mouth in that order. So then you got to do the rewrites and re record. And yeah, that's a whole
What's
salute to you and salute
what,
to the people who
what's a
do that longer form content.
what's a script?
Well, you
Sometimes
might want to hit. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll redo the opening, but that's about it. Like it,
Okay. So you
like
just kind
I,
of
yeah,
shoot from the lip and the hip. Okay.
I just I don't think I could do that. I'm just not wired that way. I've always been the impromptu guy that's just gonna. But I love like what Toy
Yeah.
Connections does. Like I've told him before, like he's a
Yeah, Ken's really
perfectionist.
good.
I'm like, you can never do what I do because it drives you nuts. He's like, nope, I can't. It's
It's
like
just
little things like eat
yeah.
him up because he had messaged me about something and he's like, you can just edit that out. I'm like, I don't care. People laughed about it. He's like, I wouldn't be able to handle that. Like, I know you can.
I recently on one of the Geek Dad live streams, what did I say? I said that the Transformers came from the planet Energon instead of Cybertron, and I haven't heard the end of it. It's come on, Matt, or Globotron, or I forget, but it's one of those things. Sometimes you misspeak, especially when you're
Wait a
talking
minute.
about things where it's
Are
like you
you
accidentally go
are
ahead.
you saying people in the chat don't let you forget things? That's
No, it's amazing. It's like nobody it's like people in the chat are perfect and they've never had any issues. So, more power to them. I used to be perfect too. And then Brick invited me on and then Jay invited me on and then Jay kept inviting me on until he offered me the co-host spot. And so now I'm no longer perfect. Now I make all the mistakes that I used to watch everybody
well,
else make.
you see Brooke with that perfect hair, and I'm like, how do you have such perfect hair? When we did the 36-hour
Genes.
streamathon, I had to take a nap for like 3 hours. And so that was in the morning. And I wake up, it's like 9 in the morning, my time, and he's 3 hours difference. I tune in, there's a whole bunch of guys going, and Brick's one of them, and his hair is perfect. So it's like 6 in the morning, and I'm like, dude, how is your hair perfect? And he was like, well, I had to take my mother-in-law to the airport. I'm like, that's what's your point? Like, you had to get looking nice for your
It's just
mother-in-law?
coiffed. It's part of it's good genes. He's got good hair genes. He's like Uncle Jesse on a Full House. Just good
I
hair
just said
genes.
it's a brick. That's literally little bricks from Lego. So, so let me ask. I'm
Mhm.
assuming it's going to be self-explanatory, but where does your name Quip come from? Is that your last name?
So Quip, the name came from I don't know, I was looking for something shorter. So I used to have a screen name on a bunch of different places. where it was actually sesquipedalian. So to be sesquipedalian is somebody who likes big words or uses really large words. So
Not
it's
me.
like so as being a word nerd and just enjoying different things. Hey, Stanley. Um, but being a word nerd and enjoying vocabulary, things like that, sesquipedalian is a really long handle. And if you have that handle, people can often misspell it, or it's like they shouldn't have to Google or go to a dictionary in order to spell it quickly. And so I was like, okay, well, how will I short that up? Okay, so you've got sesquipedalian. I was like, okay, Quip. Quip is short for sesquipedalian. And then it's also kind of one of those like you name a turtle Speedy because it's like kind of slow. So I just thought it
Yeah.
was kind of funny where it's like, okay, I can be long-winded sometimes. I know we talked about how long we're going to be on here. I know I could easily, if I'm not mindful of the time, just yap on until like 4 hours into it, but trying to keep it a little tighter this evening. So Quip comes ultimately from the word sesquipedalian,
So
and then
it's not your last name.
no, not my last name. And then the way that I came up with Scotty Quippen was it was just an ad lib at the beginning of one of the Geek Dad Lives where I was calling Jay, who's he owns the channel, he's built the brand and everything. I said it's fun to be his co-host, right? To be his second chair, to kind of be, the Scotty Quippen to his MJ. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. I like Scotty Quippen, like just kind of working in the name. So yeah, that's where the tag is Scotty Quippen because people know Scotty Pippen. You don't really have to look up how to spell that a little more, or you don't have to look that up. So I just like the reference, and that's where Scotty Quippen came from. But ultimately, I've gone by Quip for a little while now. Yeah.
So can I ask what your real name is? Or
Nope.
not?
Well, you can ask. I'm just not going to answer.
Okay. I think you've actually said it a couple of times, even private. And I was like, I think you said it twice. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
That's why I thought your name was Scotty.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, no.
No, and that's fine because a lot of people. Sometimes I feel like I've given too much of my information out there. I know Matt, my moderator, probably be like, you have.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So, do you mind me asking how old you are?
So I am, hold on. I'm not wearing shoes so I can count. I am, how old am I? Hold on real quick. You stop keeping count after like 35. Oh my goodness. Let me think. Yeah, I'm 38. There we go. Okay. All right. Just had to do a quick one. Yeah.
So you're still pretty young in this.
Relatively,
In
it's
some of the
it's
hobby.
funny in this crowd how 38 is considered younger. Like it's funny, like when we start talking Transformers, He-Man, things like that. Like those were a little before my time. Even like I caught like the tail end of Thundercats. So born in '87. That's why really a lot of my fandoms are more in the
Yep.
'90s, like Ninja Turtles, Toxic Crusaders type deal. But I still have an appreciation for it. Just it's the same thing with music, right? Queen was before my time, but one of my favorite songs is Under Pressure with David Bowie. So I can still appreciate G.I. Joe
Wait,
and
you're
Motu and yeah.
you're allowed to appreciate things you don't like. That's crazy. That's crazy concept right there. Crazy talk. No, I think a lot of it also has to do with I'm dealing with a lot of GI Joe fans.
Mhm.
So when you hear someone that's 38 that's a big GI Joe fan, and I don't think I don't know if you are or not. Um, that's where you're like, it seems odd, but then you
Mhm.
realize like GI Joe was still they were pumping out figures in the early
Yeah.
2000s. It just wasn't what it was in the 80s when I was growing up.
I mean,
So
even in the '90s, we had the G.I. Joe cartoon. I remember the different scenes between or where you'd have like the live action sections with um there have been some live action sections with Sergeant Slaughter. That's what I was trying to think. Where I remember the different promos he would cut, like in WWF. So growing up watching wrestling during the Rock and Wrestling period, and then also appreciating the Rock and Wrestling cartoon. But then also like when Sergeant Slaughter would show up in the cartoon. So that's where my fandom or appreciation for GI Joe comes from. I had coloring books. I had color forms. Never had the toys though, because my parents had a big rule about how war is nothing to play with. There is nothing to glorify it. Any of the action figures that I purchased that had guns, and we're talking, she was a trendsetter. McFarlane probably got the idea from my mom. As far as not, or no, I guess it wasn't McFarlane. It's Warner Brothers who doesn't
The
allow
Warner
guns on their
Brothers.
figures. Yeah. So maybe my mom's console for Warner Brothers, but I remember distinctly one of my youngest toy memories. Well, not youngest, but an early toy memory is getting a Grifter action figure from the Playmates Wildcat series. And the whole point of Grifter is he's got guns. He's a gunslinger. This is what he does. And I'm thinking, so I get home, this is cool, immediately open it, and my mom takes all of the guns out of the package and throws them away. And I'm thinking, why would you let me get this figure if you didn't? Like, I thought I was in the clear. I was like, maybe they don't care. They didn't say anything.
Not even like put them to the side for one day, just
nope. Put them to the side. What? Like, it does seem like such a weird, like, I can't imagine now buying my daughter a toy and saying, yeah, I'm going to throw out half that stuff. Half the stuff you can't play with, but here you can. But it's different generation. I don't know. I can't make reasons for it. And that's why I keep everything mint in box now, so that my mom doesn't show up and throw everything out.
When my ex and I split up, I said, I'm like, whatever you do not throw any of the toys away until I come and look at them. Like, as they got older, because not only might they be worth something, but you want to put some stuff away, because if your kid really liked playing with it, you never know 10, 20 years down the road when they're like, oh yeah, I really loved that. And you're like, you know what I have down here? Now my kids would obviously know, because they're like, yeah, dad keeps everything.
I do the same thing with my daughter now too. Like, my wife and I have a rule, because I've got so much toy trauma, which is often collecting comes with toy trauma, with somebody throwing something out or something happening or you losing some childhood toy. And my dad was military, and so we moved a lot. And whenever we moved,
that's crazy that you said your dad's military, but you couldn't have guns because war is bad, which is,
I think that was part of it. Like, so he was a corpsman, so he was medical corps, but still, I think it was part of, maybe there was some trauma there. He had treated injuries or worked or done different. I don't know, but we moved all around. So I think it was one of those, this is nothing to play with type deal, right? And even though we'd still found a way, we had friends, and I'm sure an occasional Joe or two came from like toy swaps with buddies, like, hey, I'm done playing with this toy, you want to take this one, I'll take this one. And then you kind of like hide it from the parents, or you borrow it for a bit and then you swap back, right? But we weren't allowed to. It was just one of the rules.
No, and that's cool. So it sounds like you were a military brat, I guess.
Yes.
And I'm only saying that because I've heard other military kids say that.
Okay, yes.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes. I've got multiple siblings. Won't get into specifics of how many, but a number greater than 2. And
were any close in age? So, like, did you have any built-in play friends?
The one that I'm closest to was closest in age, right? So okay. I'm the second oldest in the line, and the one that I'm closest to is the third. So, but of like growing up, yes, we had toy wars where we would set up our different action figure lines, and you're kind of like across the room, and we'd have similar lines. One of my brothers was more into the villains. Me and my younger brother, third brother, who I'm closest to, we were both into more of the hero side of things. So that made for good toy wars, as far as, okay, which side has all the villains, your Megatrons, your Shredders and whatnot, and then the other side would have like your Turtles and Optimus, things like that. So had good play buddies where we would enact and imagine all sorts of different scenarios growing up with our different action figures.
All right, give me 1 second here, because we have a someone has gifted a membership.
Hey, cool.
And quickly, I want to throw in you get the
welcome to the creamery.
And that's from Allison, just so you know. She nicknamed it the creamery, and that's my daughter. Okay. And Same Time Toys. Look at that. Shane gets a free membership. And then we got Tony's Figs jumping in here. So, all right.
Awesome. But I was I guess I was mid-story explaining about how when we moved around a lot, my toys would disappear. And then it wasn't until into my early adulthood that I realized I was like, our toys probably weren't disappearing. Our parents were probably like giving them away because they didn't want to move junk from one house to another. Because I've had that urge, but we have not gotten rid of a single toy from our daughter, including Happy Meal toys, without asking her, "Hey, are you good with this? Do you want us to hold on to it?" Whenever my daughter goes through different phases of like, because we'll get to a point where she's like, "Okay, you've got enough toys everywhere. You're kind of at capacity. Which ones do you really play with that you want to keep? Which ones do you want to put in a box to where we'll hold on to them? And then maybe you want to work them in and out of the rotation. And which ones are you
Oh,
completely done with, not interested in? Those are the ones we'll donate." So
yeah, I can't tell my daughter, you have enough Stitch Funko Pops because then she goes,
exactly. That is
and I
kind of funny
go,
too, where
I'm like,
whenever we're
I,
in a
I pay for
store,
everything, so I'm allowed to have whatever I want.
whenever we're in a store, it's always funny because it's like, okay, well, we're here for whatever reason. If I'm gonna go to one part of the store and mom's gonna go to another part of the store, my daughter's smart enough to go, yeah, I'm gonna go with dad. We'll be in the toy section. Like we're gonna just go cruise the toy section.
Even when
And
I wasn't collecting, I always said you go to the toy section first because no one is racing to get milk, but maybe there's that one toy that you've been looking for.
yeah,
Um, and Evil Dookie saying, I always threw stuff out every time I
exactly.
moved for the army.
Yeah.
Um, and I've heard a few people say the exact same thing. They were in the military, their dad, mom served, and when they moved, there was stuff that didn't come, and it was usually
Yeah.
everything. And that seems so awful to me because a kid that grew up in the exact same house pretty much since I was like 4 or 5, all that G.I. Joe stuff, and it was just always there. It was always there, and it's followed me. Well, I guess I've been here 18 years, so it followed me here, and
Yeah.
it's not going anywhere. So as a little kid, what what's your first memory of like the first toys that you played with? And I'm not talking about like the first ones you fell in love with. My
Yeah.
age, it's always like it always seems like it's Adventure People, Hot Wheels, Army Men,
Hmm.
the Fisher Price guys. Do you have anything that stands out?
So first toy memory, I would say earliest one that I distinctly remember getting. I know we had like little people and the little shape things that you could put in, right? But beyond that, like first action figure memory would be Batman 89. And that is
Okay.
clear. Like I got a Batmobile, I got the Batman 89 Batman, the black one. And then because my brother, I say the black one, because my brother got the gold version and then he had the Bat wing. And then I had the Batmobile. So
Remember?
sorry, Batmobile, Batman, and then I also had Robin too. I had the Super Friends or Superpowers Robin,
Yeah.
and so those were the first two that I got that were distinct memories. And I also distinctly remember opening the toy, getting it. You pull it back, the wheels make the little clicking noise. I could still like hear it right now. And I fired one of the missiles. Well, I fired both of the missiles, right? And I lost one. Like it just disappeared. Like, and we're talking fresh out the box, just gone. And so, like, that's probably another scar of opening a toy, immediately losing something. See, we're unpacking all sorts of stuff here. Where, and hey, speaking of Batman 89, look at that. Derek Hoover just showed up. I know that's one of his favorite, well, is his favorite movie. So, yeah.
I love Batman 89 and I hate Batman Returns. I've tried watching it again. I
Okay.
cannot. And I don't know why. I cannot. I've tried watching again. It's like the cast is good.
Mhm.
That Michael Keaton's my favorite Batman. I remember seeing it at the movie theater. And I was like, I don't like this, and I cannot.
Hmm.
I can't put my finger on why I don't like it. I don't like despise it. It's not like
Yeah.
I mean, and it's way better than the two that came after it. I just
No,
don't like
bite
it,
your
and I
tongue. I'm
cannot.
Schumacher all day long. Like I enjoy Batman 89 and I enjoy Returns. Like I don't dislike it, but there is something, I mean, there's a little too much Burton in there, Tim Burton. There's a little like
Maybe
he
that's
gets a
what it
little
is.
too weird with it in some areas. Like again, it's an awakening for a lot of people. I am not downing Batman Returns. It's just for my own personal stylings, the hokiness. See, there you go. See, that's good. The hokiness. My Batman, and rest in peace is Val Kilmer, right? The Kilmer Batman in Batman Forever That is what spoke to me. And honestly, rewatched it for all the clamor that Catwoman has and gets from Batman Returns. Dr. Chase Meridian was like I was watching it with my daughter who's younger, and I didn't remember any of that part. That part that like her parts flew right by me, but I was like, yo, like what is happening right now with Chase Meridian was after Batman. She was trying to thirst trap him the entire movie. So
It's been a long time since I've seen either one of the Schumacher ones, and I don't see myself watching them anytime soon. 89 I'll watch. Like if it's on, I'll watch it. I mean, I guess I don't watch TV anymore. Like you watch. And what I mean by that is like you have a streaming service. You know, I can't remember the last time I turned TV on. But like if 89 was on, I'd watch it. If any of the Bourne Identities are on that have Jason Bourne, not the one
solid
that
movies
don't
not
have Jason Bourne on.
Yeah.
So as a kid, what was your favorite toy line, or what were your favorite toys that you got into?
As a kid, I'm trying to think. So playing with favorite toy line was definitely Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles was a big thing. I still collect. That's probably the bulk of my collection.
And you're
it's
right at that age. You're like right at that age, because
there, perfect age.
Like I was, Turtles were coming in as I was finding skateboarding, and that's all I cared about.
Okay.
But like, so I never had any Turtles. I remember sitting in, it was middle school, and someone had the black and white turtle comic book. And I was like, wow, this is not that's not the cartoon that I see. And he's like, no, it's not.
No, not at all. But yeah, big into the cartoon, loved the movies. Real big into the movies, as most kids are, right? As a kid growing up was Secret of the Ooze was my jam. And then I know people don't necessarily agree with me, but 3 Turtles in Time, even though it wasn't like the video game, I thoroughly enjoyed it as a kid. And that's who it was for, right? They made it even hokier, slapsticky. So I can get adults or people or older kids who were cool teens thinking, this is awful. But I
believe it or not, I said the same thing about episode 1. I go, imagine watching it as a 5-year-old. You probably don't think that Jar Jar is as annoying as he is.
Yeah. Well, and so I think this is part we've chatted about this a little bit too, where I think we are compatriots when it comes to episode 1 and the slander it gets. It's got now. Ooh, this is actually I'm going to I won't say retcon, but I'll fix this. Like my opinion has recently changed because we're literally doing a watch through of like all the Star Wars movies, kind of like in chronological order with her, trying to work in like Rogue One, different things. So we just finished
and how they should be watched, not how they came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and how they should be, like in episode order, right?
Yes.
Where flipped a coin. My wife and I were of 2 different minds. So because this was an experience with our daughter, we let our daughter decide. Because my wife was like, no, you got to watch it in this order, because if you watch it in the other order, then she already knows Anakin's Darth Vader, blah, 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 right? But that reference, my daughter has the Lego games. Like she's known that she's like, I know Anakin's Darth Vader. Like she's like, I know. It's not a big twist. There's not going to be a moment that you film and put on YouTube and remember forever. And her going, what? So that was something for our generation. And I get my wife wanting her to enjoy that, but being able to watch it just in order, and honestly going back and watching these through the lens of an adult. So as a kid, episode 1 was it, right? Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan fight scene, fantastic. Pod racing, phenomenal. Loved it.
I will reiterate. I don't know how. I mean, I remember thinking, I was like, this pod racing better be pretty good. And then we came out of watching, and I was like, that was awesome. And people to this day knocking. I'm like, how? What was there not to like about it?
I don't know, because there was even the N64 game Pod Racer or Star Wars Racer that I loved, that I played all the time that summer, while drinking soda from a 3PO or drinking Pepsi from a 3PO can and saving in, going, oh, I hope we get Queen Amidala, your little collection on the ledge, right? I was all about it. And this is what, it's funny, my wife and I were just talking earlier, because we're on to A New Hope now, and we were watching that earlier today. And on the drive home, we were just talking, kind of like ranking things. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm actually going to have to reserve my ranking for when we finish our rewatch, because before this, my ranking would have been, okay, number one Star Wars movie, I'm going to include it in the continuity, even though it isn't centered on a Skywalker, Rogue One. I love Rogue One, love how it filled in the plot holes for A New Hope, gave you a little more background on how they get it. Favorite droid, K2SO. I'm a big Alan Tudyk fan, and it's just the story in Rogue One was
It's amazing.
solid.
It's great.
There are other people in the rebellion. It's not all about the Skywalkers, right? Even though I get it, it's Skywalker saga.
And you know what happens? You know they don't survive.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, we used to make jokes any time that like a Marvel movie came out or a big movie, we're like, everyone dies at the end, right? That's how you spoil it. But like Rogue One, they really all died at the end.
Yeah. But loved Rogue One. But I would have said before this rewatch that I liked episode 1. Like I used to dump all over the Revenge of the Sith. I was not a fan. But upon rewatch, so I was going on and on about the best lightsaber fight in all of the Star Wars movies. Fight me is Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, right? But going back and watching the Mustafar lightsaber fight with Obi-Wan and Anakin as an adult, I was like, they were going off. Like, I was, okay, I concede the point and will say best lightsaber fight, Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar, which that kind of is. That's the climax of that particular part of the trilogy. Now I get it. A lot of people will rage. They'll say, no, it's got to be Luke and Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi. My wife is still a purist. My wife is, I don't know what you're talking about. There's only 4, 5, and 6. But
I like that though.
Yeah, she's like, no. But again, it's kind of like the storytelling, it's the crescendo of everything. But I was like, wow, I did not remember the lava, the tower falling, them going all through. The one part that was a little silly was the, hey, we're both twirling in front of us. Like that's like
it still kills me.
Come on. Like, but
they're doing their baton act together, and you're like, exactly. All right, dude, like I would have just stabbed you. I would have just stabbed you while you were twirling it. It would have been a lot easier.
But overall, I'm really enjoying it so far, and I want to go back and rewatch it. But we were even talking about the sequels, and it's funny because what were we talking about? Because we were talking about the sequels, and what did I say? I said I'd put Force Awakens still before Attack of the Clones. So now my opinion is Attack of the Clones is probably my least favorite, but it's my least favorite from the perspective of that love story is not an epic love story whatsoever. Like they should have, I don't know why they started Anakin off as a little kid, why they couldn't have made him the same age as Amidala. It just made for a super weird dynamic. And the speed with which she went from, hold on, still hate. Yeah, it was a little hokey.
No.
But again, so it's funny because at that point I was a little older, but I still could appreciate the hokiness of a good no, and getting that
so bad.
Getting that each of the trilogies for Star Wars is a reintroduction or not a reintroduction. It's an introduction for a newer or younger generation.
Yeah.
To get into, it's an on-ramp for younger people to get into the Star Wars fandom. So not gatekeeping, right? More Star Wars is cool. They can tell all sorts of different stories. I'm not a J.J. Abrams fan by any stretch of the imagination at all. He does not care. He has not demonstrated care for any of the different IPs that he's worked on, be it Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. He's great at revamping things to get you excited again. But the fact that it's kind of like, all right, he redid Wrath of Khan in Star Wars Into Darkness, and he redid A New Hope. And not only did he redo A New Hope after Return of the Jedi already redid New Hope by blowing up the Death Star, then he had the audacity to insult our intelligence by having Han Solo say, well, why don't we just blow it up? There's always a way to do that in A Force Awakens. And I was like, oh, I don't like when the franchises make fun of me. I don't like this, or when they insult my intelligence, but they got my money. So, but at the end of the day, it got people excited. There's some cool different aspects of the story that they explored. I don't appreciate the execution. You can kind of tell it bounces all around. But overall, conceptually, Force Awakens, I still put before, for me personally, Return of the Jedi. I know people freak out when I say that, but
Well,
I think Force
you
Awakens
want
is better than
you
Return of the Jedi.
wanted a short episode. We're gonna get a short episode. Jedi is still it's my favorite
Okay.
of anything Star Wars. I saw it 7 times at the movie theater, so there is that. I don't mind Ewoks because I'm the size of one, so they don't bother me. No, I'm not a big fan of clones. That is
Okay.
the worst of the prequels.
We agree there. Absolutely.
It's there are some good parts. Django versus Obi-Wan, I really like the rain and everything. It's cool seeing all the Jedi, even if NSYNC was in there. So there's some good things, but for the most part, it's just not that good. You know, Dooku versus Yoda is cool, but all in all,
It's cool conceptually, but then it's like there's a little bit of the fight with Yoda and
Dooku.
why am I forgetting his name? Dooku. There you go. The fight with Yoda and Dooku, like it. Everybody complains about the CGI of like the droids or of like Jar Jar, but I'd say that scene bothers me more than Jar Jar or anything else. The scene, just the CGI with how he moves, and it's kind of like it's a cool concept where when you first see it, you're like, oh man, Yoda can move, he's so fast. But then you're kind of like, all right, it's just a blurry ball. It's like when you watch Transformers and Michael Bay, however they direct Transformers, it's kind of like you're watching. And hold on, it's cool. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, it's just like you can't really make sense. It's all a blur when you're watching Transformers. It's a big ball of metal. Who's winning? I don't know. I can't tell. It's a big ball of metal rolling past the screen, and so Yoda bouncing around.
I could see that, and I always say, I tell people, I go, I feel like Yoda when I skateboard. Like I'm hobbling around all the time. My knees hurt. But I get on my skateboard and I don't really notice. But once I get off it, I'm back to using the skateboard as a cane, just like Yoda is like, what?
Fair enough. Yeah.
But no, I like seeing, because that's the first time we got to see Yoda, how he's gonna fight. How does this little guy fight? And he has a short lightsaber, and I thought I loved it. And, even
I loved the fight with Yoda and Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what it is about the fight with Yoda and Dooku that I'm just not a fan of.
I feel like he went overboard with the special effects in episode 2.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know the droids were all special effects, but for some odd reason, it looked like, I'm not going to say it looked like the bad Star Trek movies where it's like, this isn't even an episode of The Next Generation. It's so bad, all right?
Fair enough.
So as a kid, when do you, when you're going into middle school, are you still playing with toys? Or are you, like many of us, were hiding our toys and then finding out years later, oh, we were all still playing with them?
I never really went through a phase of hiding my toys. I think something in middle school is right around when I was really big into action figures. Oh, Abrams has some real audacity. Yeah, he does. But I was more into video games and girls in middle school, right? So I just kind of naturally, it wasn't like a shame thing, because even in middle school, I was collecting, like keeping things mint in box.
Okay.
And so like I made that transition probably around 5th grade, like Attitude Era. It was the Superstars Wave 3. Shawn Michaels in the green pants was the first figure that I ever bought. I opened it, so I took it off the card, but I kept the little holder because I had a friend who collected figures and he would do the same thing. And then I started getting more into, it was the Smash and Bass WCW NWO figures. That's the first line that I remember saving my money for, keeping them all mint on card, kind of lining them up, like pinning them to the wall, where it's like you have a little like push pin and then you hang them from the wall, like over my bunk bed. I had the top bunk, and just kind of collecting figures. And so I would display them never hit them. Friends would come over.
Yeah.
We were just all into some nerdy stuff. And then even when I started dating my wife, I was in college, and at that point, I was buying and selling vintage action figures with like an eBay store. So that was kind of the hustle. It was a
Okay.
self-sustaining habit where, of course, I had some principal investment in some figures, but as I transitioned, or I go to upgrade from a mint on card punched 10 back 1988 Ninja Turtle to an unpunched one. Okay, I bought the unpunched one. That card's a little mintier. There's no little slight corner here, crease. So I'm gonna go ahead and sell this other one. It kind of started to stack on collecting. And yeah, I had the 10 back series from 1988 and 1989 on the walls of the little bedroom in the house that I was renting from some friends, from like a married couple. I was living with a married couple, sleeping on a futon that converted, and on the walls, which the walls themselves were like painted turtle green. And then I had my action figures just out, and my wife saw that and she was just like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I was into it. She was able to be nerdy too. We embraced it. So I've never been ashamed of being into toys or action figures. But I don't lead with that. Like when you meet people at work, I'm like, hey guys, I collect action figures. But I think you've mentioned it before, where if I've got something on my desk,
Yeah.
or if I see somebody else has a figure on their desk, like, oh, that's kind of
It's
cool. Like, how
it's
into it are you?
it's not even the being embarrassed of it. It's the
Yeah.
I don't want to answer this question. That's the whole thing. Because eventually the question comes back. The question eventually comes to, well, how much are these worth? And it's like, whatever somebody will pay for it.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
truth. And I don't buy stuff to flip it. And I have no problem if that's what someone wants to do. They get Whenever I want to sell something, I look at my stuff. I'm like, I bought this because I liked it, so I don't want to get rid of it. That's why everything is just accumulating. But I have learned. I focus on specific lines. Probably too many right now, but that's for a whole nother show that someone needs to do with me. I think you have to pay like $120 an hour for that too. So.
Yeah, so I don't buy toys to flip them. Like I'm not in that business. I'll sell stuff off. I usually sell it off way below the price of something else, because by the time I'm done with something, or I'm looking to just, start to, okay, this was cool. I was into this, but they didn't get to these characters and that line's dead. So now I feel like it's incomplete. Cool. It's gone. Got to sell it. And then if something just so happens to explode, cool, I can benefit from it. If it doesn't, then all right. Hey, Rowdy.
I was about to point out that Rowdy is living in the past. And I was going to tell her, hey, you know what? Go into the future. It's really awesome here. And then she realized that she was
all good. But yeah, exactly. I sell things now to make more room or get funds up, or if I feel like it's run its course. And this is the conversation I have with my daughter, even about her toys. Because what's been cool about kind of knowing how to navigate eBay, or even some of the toy discords, there's always a buy, sell, trade channel, of just moving it quick, is she's like, oh, so you mean that like if I'm done playing with a toy, like I'm over it, not really interested anymore, and I want to sell it, I can then take that money and buy that video game or buy this other toy and save money and things. So she's like, nice. Hey. So
I gotta ask you though, you brought up Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
You said that was your first figure that you bought and you kind of kept. So that means you're a Shawn Michaels fan? Or
I was. So as I matured, as I grew to appreciate some of the nuance of some of the behind the scenes antics and everything. Because when I was still growing up, kayfabe was still alive. I mean, you'd call this phone number. I had a really cool, he was like a college volunteer at the aftercare, like after elementary school. And he was real big into wrestling. Like we actually watched Bash at the Beach at this little like kindergarten. It wasn't during kindergarten, but it was like a kindergarten center and these like trailers and everything. Like he was really cool. And so we used to actually go into the office there and call the hotline to where we can listen to, okay, this is what's going on with the dirt sheets and everything. And where you could dial in and talk to Lex Luger or Macho Man or whatever. So big into wrestling. But as I learned more about the behind the scenes antics, I appreciate Shawn Michaels for what he's done but him being part of the clique. I am now, currently, present day, more of a Bret Hart fan than Shawn Michaels.
Now
It's
we're
just-
really done. Come on, you're gonna tell me who do you think is better? Come on,
Who do I
Shawn
think is-
Michaels or Bret Hart?
It depends on what you mean by better. Are you talking technical wrestler? Technical wrestler, I got to give it to the Hart Foundation.
The answer is Shawn Michaels.
Answer Shawn Michaels. Okay, cool. I mean, he had a fun gimmick as far as, crowd work, as far as playing that, because he was a babyface for a while, but then he really leaned into the heel. I mean, he was in this weird, he's a heel, but people like that he's a heel, especially, after he turned on Marty Jannetty and threw him through the barbershop window.
No, I was there. When I wasn't there, I watched it live, and Bobby Heenan said it.
Mm-hmm.
Marty Jannetty tried to jump through that to get away. Right? That actually just popped up, but I'm like,
Okay.
watching that, I love the throwing him through the plate glass window, but listeing to Bobby Heenan is so awesome because he's he's a coward.
But yeah, so I remember the segments as far as personality wise. It's almost like, so again, when I was a little kid, I was way more into Hogan because everybody was into Hogan. But as I got older, learned a little more about different issues. It's like, okay, now I bump Macho Man's Be a Man regularly on the drive to and from work.
Hogan and Terry Bollea are two different people.
Exactly. And that's kind of what you get. Hulk Hogan as the character, still larger than life. I mean, he was an over the top face. I mean, the face. Still, even to this day, people know Hogan's name.
He is still the biggest wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
You can argue, and people can try and argue that it's Steve Austin. It is not.
Nah, it's not.
It
Austin was big. Stone Cold. I mean, you hear the glass break and everybody,
and during that era, yes. But Hulk Hogan made it. And some people say The Rock, but The Rock is known more as an actor now than a wrestler.
That's fair.
I mean, they know he's a wrestler. Hulk Hogan never got. No one ever knew him as an actor.
Mr. Nanny? No.
No holds barred.
What was it? What was the one where he was from the future? It wasn't Universal Soldier, but
no.
Because I know that's Van Damme.
Someone's gonna say what it is. I don't remember.
Sorry, Commando. Ooh, Suburban Commando.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's the one I was trying to think of. I used to. Sorry, The Rock is. To your point, I agree with you, Lawrence. As far as The Rock isn't. I mean, we still call him The Rock, but he's more famous for playing the same character over and over. Which, hey, whatever, if that's his hustle, go for it. And I know he's trying to branch out now, do something a little more dramatic, actually, depicting the life of I forget which wrestler, really famous wrestler from Japan. The name escapes me. Oh, Thunder Lips, that's true. But, Hogan.
Going to The Rock, like Steve Austin is a more popular wrestler than The Rock. He's not a more popular person. Make sense?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Because Hulk Hogan is not known for being on the A Team and in Rocky 3.
No, and No Holds Barred.
Up there, and No Holds Barred.
My wife to this day, I'll randomly quote, like, if she asks me what's that smell, I'll go, Duke.
We were
like, that's so old, but I still do it. It's a fun quote.
We were in Orlando, and my dad took us to see it.
Okay.
And I remember him laughing because there was only 12 other people in the theater.
It is what it is. He was good as Thunder Lips, but
because he played himself. he played himself. So as you go into high school, what are you doing? Like, are you still collecting toys? Do you get into sports? We kind of talked about music, and there's some other things that you threw out that kind of shocked me.
So in high school, so if middle school I was into video games, skating, and girls, I mean high school, that's pretty much what I was into. I still collected action figures. I wouldn't say they were hidden though. I mean, I kept them like in like the actual like chest of drawers that I had, like the top 4 drawers were my actual clothes, all nice and neatly folded, and the bottom 2 drawers were reserved for action figures that I can break out, appreciate them. Okay, all right, these are cool. But yeah, my collecting was way down in high school just because I had other things going on. But yeah, real big into skating all the time.
You brought up things in the chat that only skateboarders know, like falling and smashing your hand on the ground
in the winter. Yes.
Now, I guess I should have asked. I didn't ask where you grew up at, but you were an Army brat, so you moved around.
So grew up primarily in San Diego, California, and Irvine, California, Orange County, which is where out there, I mean, everybody skates.
Yes.
And then we moved out west. I was in the Virginia Beach area, as a lot of people know, large naval presence. So really different areas where there's a big naval presence. But yeah, I would skate all the time and
so
didn't really
fall when it was cold.
That's where it was the high school years out in the Virginia Beach area, because even though it's Virginia Beach, it still gets cold in Hampton Roads. And so you might get like an inch of snow and it would shut everything down, but that's really actually what's funny is moving from Southern California out to southeast state or southeast Virginia. One of our first purchases, because it was at the very beginning of the school year, is we went to like Burlington Coat Factory and all got these gigantic coats. It's like that scene in Cool Runnings where they get off the plane and they're like, "Oh, it's snow," and Dougie Fresh, no, Dougie Doug, not Dougie Fresh. Sorry, Dougie Fresh is the rapper. Dougie Doug was putting on all his clothes. But yeah, hometown. Which one is the hometown? Are we talking Virginia Beach? Or are we talking San Diego? Or Irvine, California?
Virginia Beach.
Okay, all right, dope. So even there's a big presence skating in Virginia Beach. Yeah. You've got Mount Trashmore, right? Skate culture is big out in Virginia Beach still. Who is it? Pharrell and his whole ice cream brand and skating. Like he talks about in his Lego Life movie, he talks about skating at the skate park out Mount Trashmore. So there you go.
But I like when you brought up you said it, like falling and I went. Oh, you fallen because the rocks dig into it is, and you have to wait till like spring for it to thaw off to where it doesn't hurt no more.
Yeah, and then it's like when you go skating, what do you wear? Like wearing the hoodie, and then or wearing like you don't wear a big bubble jacket because then you don't have the same mobility, and then you're gonna get too hot. But then you don't want to wear a t-shirt because you're too cold. Okay, cool. So you went to Princess Anne High School. That's awesome. Okay, all right. See, I know the area. Awesome.
Yeah, I hated wearing gloves. So I just other people, and even though I didn't do grabs, I hated wearing gloves. So I would never wear gloves.
So you fall a couple times. Depending on what you're doing, where your spot is. If you could find a spot where, so like we used to skate on like a tennis court, which there's less gravel on a tennis court, super smooth. If the net's down because nobody's really playing in the wintertime. So then it's all right, cool. I don't need the gloves. But if you get a gravelly road or depending on where you're skating, where your spot is that day, yeah, sometimes I'd throw on gloves. Because like you said, even if I'm not grabbing, I don't want to fall and get road rash on my palm because it just sucks. And then that pebble will play out by the springtime, but
it hurts. And we were like, and it was, I don't know, in the past 10 years, I was like, we would drive and everything was salted and we'd push it with our feet. None of us was smart enough to be like, you know what, we should just stop and buy a broom and then sweep it. Instead, we push things with our, with your foot, which, let's be honest, isn't the most effective way to move rock salt.
No.
So how long?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, you grow up, you get a lot smarter as you mature. So I referenced my wife earlier about not being phased one bit about my action figures in my room or anything like that. First ever present, Valentine's Day. So this is Valentine's Day. We actually started dating in January. And so that February Valentine's Day rolls around. Her first ever Valentine's Day present to me, which is why I knew I had to lock it in, was a flat rail. It was a 6-foot flat rail. Because she was like, "Oh, you skate? This is fun. Here's a flat rail for you to skate and do tricks on." Yeah. I was like, "Ooh, she's a keeper."
You come from a different generation because one thing, we would have to make something like that.
Fair
You weren't
enough.
able to buy it. And two, yeah, most girls didn't like skateboarders. Most people didn't like skateboarders growing up. I guess
That's
it's a better
fair.
way.
That's fair. And what I kind of get it. Like I always still kind of got it. Like it's I was in this weird in between
You were,
where
yeah, you would have been coming out of it probably X Games start. It got bigger. It was becoming
yeah,
more now it's super acceptable. Like no
exactly.
one thinks
Yeah.
anything about it.
I mean, it was on the heels. Like I started skating in 5th grade. And I want to say it was 5th grade. 5th grade had to have been right around when Tony Hawk landed the 900 and then got the Tony Hawk Pro Skater franchise shortly thereafter. And then it just
That
boomed. Like everybody was into skating.
that changed so much.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and Tony Hawk talks about like what that did. Not just for him, but for skateboarding. That was the dog.
Oh.
Right, buddy? He's in his beanbag. Yeah, that changed skateboarding. And again, I'm not one of those people. I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't care. Like those people are like,
Yeah.
I hate that it's in the Olympics. Well, then don't watch it. It's that simple.
No, that's cool. It's the progression of the sport. And then
Yeah, it doesn't change how I love it.
Exactly. And it's now what these kids are doing now, like some of the fact that there are like 5th graders out there that just hop on a board, they're like, yeah, here's my double tray flip, and you're just like, what is happening? Like, what is in the water? How are these kids? Oh, okay, well, that Man I Love, Dave Mira, BMX.
Oh.
Exactly, great soundtrack. But those games, the extreme sports games, really did, it affected everybody's my hometown, the skateboarders were hoods. That's fair too. And that's what I was going to say. I was always the diplomat whenever we were in our group. So this goes back to being able to talk my way, being a smooth talker, again, sesquipedalian, talking your way out of different situations where I would be the peacekeeper, the peacemaker. Okay, all right, we're at a skate spot and there's another group that they're like, this is our skate spot, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, come on, let's come together. Let's smoke them of the peace pipe and just, we're all here. Teamwork makes the dream work type deal, smoothing things over. But now it probably helps. And it's funny because I don't realize how tall I am because my brother is 6'4". And so it's like I always feel kind of like I'm a runt or whatever, but I'm 6'1", 6'2".
Okay.
And I've been like north of like 245 since like high school, since like sophomore year. And my wife's like, yeah, you're the diplomat because nobody wants to fight you. Like you're the one who you can talk because they don't want to fight you. And it's like, yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, you do not underestimate anybody because it's always like, you were mentioning being a little shorter. I know the short guy in our crew, it's like, no, it's not that they didn't want to fight me. They didn't want to fight him because he was the scrappy one who was ready to throw down at a moment's notice. I was the one who was, okay, I get it. We're not trying to destroy things. Or I would try and make sure that we didn't like wreck stuff. Like when you're waxing certain curbs, it's like, I get it. If you're grinding down poles or curbs, and depending on what you're doing, it really can be destructive to whatever property you're on, right? So I was a mindful skater of, hey, is there any way we can, one, preserve this spot so that we don't wreck it, so that we can keep coming to this spot to skate? And then two, it's kind of like, I get it. It is public funds, and if we're destroying stuff, then I get why people wouldn't want us around. So trying to be the mindful, more positive face of skating, at least for our groups and the crew that I ran with, yeah, I mean, I get that, but that's probably part of where I learned my skill for, okay, this is how I talk us out of trouble for, we broke into or climbed this fence and hopped here and went to a loading dock, and then the cops come and shine their brights, and I'm like, okay, all right, everybody, we're good, let's talk.
No, I was always one of, like, if they tell you to leave, just leave, because you're on someone else's property.
Bingo.
I also tell my kids, when we see that sign that says no skateboarding, say it's more of a suggestion than a rule.
Yeah,
so,
it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah,
right. I mean, if you're destructive, if you're loud, if you're cursing, if you're playing your music super loud and you're smoking, look, they're not gonna want you. But hey, if we like calm down the language and we just like, we're just chill here, and we're not going like buzzing past people and almost knocking groceries out of their hands and things. If we're not jerks, most people are cool. Most people like seeing people doing things that they're talented at. And
Yes.
so bringing people into it, especially again on the heels of the big extreme sports movement. I mean, we skated, we rollerbladed or fruit booted, but we didn't call it that at the time.
Wow, Todd C really does listen to me.
There you go. Okay.
Christian Hosoi will not take accountability for anything that he did. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
You know, he went to prison for all these drugs, but nothing was. I'm like, dude, take some accountability. You're the one that spent time in prison, all right?
Yeah, so it's just we were into all the extreme sports, rollerblading, BMX, and skateboarding, and so it was just one of those things of, hey, yeah, if people want to see us, right? It's one of those things of if you see, I don't know, a mom with a couple kids struggling to load up the car and we're skating at like the loading dock of a grocery store. Hey guys, drop your boards. Let's just help this mom. And they're like, oh, wow, that's really helpful. And so they would just like see us, know us by name. And they're like, you know what? They're cool. You get in cool with people and they'll allow you to skate at the no skateboarding area. If a truck's coming and they're trying to unload, okay, guys, let's pack it up. We'll go to another spot. Right? Just be mindful of your surroundings, and people don't really mind when you skate.
I want to say, Nolan says, growing up, my favorite skaters was Chet Thomas. Chet Thomas was so good. And he owns Dark Star, and he said he put in boards in like Walmart, and they criticized him. And he said, listen, he said, these are lesser brands.
Yeah.
But if you buy one of those really cheap boards at Target or Walmart and they don't even roll, kids never going to want to skateboard again.
Exactly.
But if you give them one and it can roll and you can do some tricks on it, no, it's not the exact same type of board, but you're going to enjoy it. And he's dead right.
Yep. 100%. I know I was big into the Shorties brand skaters. So I mean, Chad Muska was my guy. Peter Smolik.
We are so different.
I was big into Muska, Smolik, Kareem Campbell.
Everything that you said, Muska is the exact opposite.
That's fair. And so, but this again is, as a kid, I'm not aware of what's going on behind the scenes or anything. And actually, now that I think about it, it's funny because, again, polar opposite. And maybe it's because of it's appreciating something that I wouldn't do because I was the talker. But speaking of somebody who does the complete opposite, one of my favorite skaters is Mike Vallely. Like that is like the guy. And when you talk about like no words, just throwing hands immediately, not being diplomatic. It's like, yeah, not that I want to, but I mean, I appreciate his aggressive, just skating style and that old school, like as I've gotten older, my skating style has kind of morphed more into that of doing some of the old school tricks. I mean, I'm not jumping down a 7-set trying to tray flip close to 40. It's like, no, I'm not trying to blow out my kneecaps, but you know, if I do this little handstand or that little trick or this plant, it's just fun. So I'll get out and I'll shred and I'll do a little bit here and there. Sometimes with the neighborhood kids, I'm teaching my daughter really how to skate, like how to push and teaching her how to rollerblade. She's not really big into, like, she'll ride her bike. She likes riding her bike, but I don't know that I've even exposed her too much to the BMX scene of whether it's freestyle or whatever. But yeah. It's so what I rattled off a couple names. Peter Smolik, Chad Muska. Daewon Song was another favorite too. Like I love the Song versus Mullen like series that they would do. So
I never liked Daewon Song.
Okay.
I really do now. Like I really do now. And I've never been a Mullen fan. And I've argued with people.
Okay.
He's one of the most influential skateboarders. I'm like, but we would have got there. We got there faster because of him. But like we would have got there because he did all these technical tricks on the freestyle board, but everyone took him to much bigger things, and we were going to get there. Like, you know, guys like, you know, Gonzalez, they were going to get us there. You know,
that's fair.
But I don't take away from, and I love listening to him talk.
Yeah.
But like, I was never the freestyle. I was never a fan of the freestyle. And even when when Plan B got him to actually skate properly, I'm just saying. I see a freestyle. I'm like, that's awesome, but it does not. It doesn't intrigue me at all.
it's just different strokes for
It
different
is.
folks. Like and there's so many different aspects to skating. I
Yeah.
mean, real big when I was younger, it was you're either, vert or street. I mean, parks were getting more and more popular, and even understanding the nuance about how skating a park I equated to being a street skater, but it's like, nah, skating a park is way different than skating just rough terrain and different
Yes.
setups. So,
But I
uh,
love the kids have these parks.
exactly.
And
And now
I'm
they
glad to
have
hear now.
places to skate where they're not going to need to go into public and wreck these things or knock down a stop sign, unbolt it so that you can tilt it up and wax it and you're grinding the stop sign, but you took down a stop sign,
Yeah,
right?
and
That
it's
is
great
now
for
potentially
guys like me because I don't want to be the guy like, the police officer says, "Can I see your ID?" And they're like, "You're almost 50 and you're ruining these curbs." And you're like, "Yeah, I know." But now there's skate parks. I don't have to worry about that.
Exactly. And I have seen your recent series where it's great that you're getting out there and doing it. Brother, I don't know if I commented. I feel like I commented. Maybe I
You
didn't
said
because I didn't want
something
it to be taken the wrong way. But I was like, brother, buy a helmet, invest, protect your noodle. You do not. So if you think road rash on your palm is bad, you don't want to get road rash on, on the side of your dome. Like you don't like just
I'm
protect
not.
your face.
I'm not at home, but again, it can happen anytime. I know that.
You could. It could.
But yeah, my
Helmets are
buddy,
cool now. Helmets are cool. They're in. They're not. And anyways,
you really do like Mike Valley.
uh,
And I have no problem. Like, I don't have a problem with who's the POW guy that wears the helmet.
the new
Andy
dude where his
Anderson.
helmet's kind of got like a brim. Yeah.
I can't stand it though. I can't stand the helmet with the little visor. I'm like, just
It's
wear
your
a normal
thing.
helmet.
Do
It
your
drives
thing,
me
bro.
nuts. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of his, and he's amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I hate that argument when I say I don't like how someone skates, and they're like, "Can you do those tricks?" I'm like, that has nothing to do with it. I
It's
don't
just
like them. I can't design certain action figures either, but I still think that I don't like some of them. It's that simple. But
different strokes for different folks. I
yeah,
mean, I just appreciate the craft. People getting out there and getting on your board. Like you
yeah,
said, it's just something cool about cruising. And it's funny because it probably started since I turned 30, where anytime I get on a board or like a neighbor sees me on a board, the first thing that they always say, I don't know if your neighbors are the same way if they talk to you at all, but they're like, don't hurt yourself. Like every single time I'm on a board, they're like, okay, don't hurt yourself. Don't fall. It's like, okay, I'm good. I'm not gonna go beyond my abilities. I know what I can do. I can
that
charge. There's like little hills in our neighborhood that I'll bomb just for fun, right? But then I'm also being mindful of, all right, if I see a car, I'm gonna bail, right? I'm not trying to hold on.
yeah. That's why
Yeah.
you got a lot of trouble. A lot.
Okay. But yeah, it's just so one here, like E-Worthy says, it's such an art. It is an art, right?
Oh yeah.
Whether it's freestyle, whether you're just surf skating has been really cool seeing people just kind of carve around parks and bowls and stuff. I've seen some of what's going on now, even in the longboard scene, of some of the tricks that these people are doing on longboards. They keep pushing the sport and pushing the sport, and it's really rad to watch. It's cool. So I mean, it is like action figures, skating, the different styles of skating
Oh
that
yeah.
are out there. If you don't like one style, nobody's forcing you. You don't have to like it. You can just say, you know what, I'm not a fan of that. That's cool. But there are other skaters that you can watch that you're a
And there
fan
are
of.
plenty
It's
of
no big deal.
skateboarders that I see that I'm like, hey, you all have the right to skate. But
Yeah.
there's some people I wish would never skate around me because their style is so awful.
What do you mean by awful? How is someone's style awful? Please go on. Let's unpack that.
You have seen people skate
Mhm.
that you watch them and everything they do looks like they have absolutely no ability, whether they land stuff or not. They look like they're going to fall every single time. They're floppy. It's just awful to watch. Now, again, they should skate. I just don't want to watch. I just don't want to see them. That's all that I'm saying. All right, like
I mean, do you ever come beside them friendly? Right, I'm gonna be the Joey Swoll of skateboarding. Do you ever come beside them and like offer, hey, like you're doing this, I see this, or you'd probably be a little more comfortable? Have you tried switching stances, adjusting your foot position? Like,
No,
have
it's
you
not
been
that.
that dude, the OG in the park, trying to help people out? Or
I will try and help everyone, especially younger
okay,
kids.
yeah.
Especially younger kids. I try and help out all the time.
Mhm.
No, again, it's just one of like, people have a specific style. Sometimes they're just awful. And again, it's not that they shouldn't have every right to skate. They do.
Yeah,
And I'm not filming them to put them out there. That's what Joey
exactly.
Swole doesn't like. All right. And I know Joey Swole very well. I appreciate what he does because I would say many, many years ago, I probably would have been one of those people he would have called out. But like you said, you know what? We all make mistakes, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
all
that
grow.
person anymore.
Love a redemption story.
But
Yeah.
there's just some people. There was this one guy that used to skate, and I would watch him, and I go, he looks like he has absolutely no ability to skate it at all. It looks awful. He lands a bunch of tricks, but it looks like he has no ability. Now, I still see my own style now, and I think I look awful. And people come up to me all the time and tell me how smooth I am and how it looks so good, and they can't believe I'm that old. And you know, my favorite one is like, oh man, I hope when I'm, I hope when I'm your age, I'm this good. And I go, does that mean that if I was younger, I would suck? I don't. And then you watch your face. I'm just messing with you, like.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like if you're doing you, if you're just being yourself on a board, and this is legitimately like, so this is where you get into the, are you a poser? Like, are you mall grabbing your board? Even though I don't understand what's so bad about mall grabbing your board.
Oh my God, really?
No, I don't. You're just holding your skateboard. Like, what's the big deal? I'm not that much of a gatekeeper, bro. I'm like, hey, maybe call me like Chef Gusteau from Ratatouille. Anyone can skate.
All right. So in all honesty, I would get home at like 1:00 in the morning from the park, 1:30, and I'm carrying all kinds of stuff in. And I'm like, there is no way that I am mall grabbing. If anyone wants to know what mall grabbing is, when you grab the truck.
When you grab the truck. So if you skate a super loose setup, I get it. If you grab the truck, you can throw some stuff off. But I would skate generally, like my kingpin was like tight. I didn't like the feeling of floppy. Like I watch.
But holding it, like I can't. And the funniest thing is, do you know who Bill Toko is?
I do not know who Bill Toko is.
Former pro skater.
Okay.
Became a pro bodybuilder, and he lives here in Michigan. He's from Michigan. His gym is right next to the skate park. And one day I saw him coming in mall grabbing, and I'm like, I'm not gonna tell him that he should never do that, but he should.
But nobody has ever been able to explain to me why. Why shouldn't you mall grab?
I just hate the way it looks. I hate the way it looks.
Okay. So do you grab it by the nose? Do you grab it by the side?
I grab it by the nose or by the side.
Okay.
You will never see me.
Okay.
You will never see me grab it like that. I'll pick it up like that sometimes to flip it over, but you'll never see me holding it like you're going to use it as a weapon. And maybe that's part of it.
Maybe it's just, I always just think it's like if you're just holding it, because there's so many ways to hold it by the side, hold it by the nose or the tail, hold it behind your head, right? It's just pull up the what was it, GI Jetman, where it says, did you ever want the hoverboard from Back to the Future? Woo, I got one. So I don't have to like, and I do want the pit bull that they have. They have like I think it's like the Fun Costume Company that has them. But yeah, man, you can make your dream come true. I mean, it doesn't really hover, but it's a pretty cool replica.
I have no urge to ever want that. Like I'm one of those people. I don't like shaped boards. I lived it. I watched it come and go. And if that's what you want to skate, that's fine. I don't like big, super wide boards, although I understand that's something that's also come. But I'm also small, so I have smaller feet. And I know some people think like, "Hey, you're skating 8.5." I skate an 8.0. 8-inch, which is thin for today. I skated an 8-inch when everyone was skating 7.5s, even when I was smaller. So I've always rode the same. You know, I want to see. I'm one of those people. I want to see it progress. I don't want to live in the past. I love the past. I love what I accomplished, but I'm one of those people that I can accept that I'm not. I wish I had all this stuff when I was younger because I had so much more ability. But I also don't look at kids and go, well, I could do that too when I was younger. I love watching what the kids do.
Bro, these kids are mind-blowing. They could do way more than I can now, and even at the top of the game. And it's cool to see them push the sport so much faster and so much further than I could ever imagine. I saw that.
Yeah, I know.
That's funny.
I mean, I could talk skateboarding all day.
Yeah.
way more than people realize. But so you still skateboard then, I guess.
Yeah, I'll
So
still get out and I
it's
mainly
not as easy.
cruise for the
It's not
most
as
part, hit a power slide here or there, boneless there, finger flip, stuff like that. Like real low key. I've transitioned more to the flatland freestyle versus jumping down steps and everything. I can't, my knees pop
oh, I don't.
if
Oh,
I sit for too long. It's yeah.
that's why learning how to skate a mini ramp was like the best thing that I did 10 years ago.
There you
When I
go.
got back into
Yeah.
skating, one of my best friends, he never stopped because he never had kids, never got married or anything. He always skated. And when my ex and I split up, he was who I hung out with and started skating again. And he taught me how to skate the mini ramp. Now I knew how to do tricks on a mini ramp. I
Mhm.
didn't know how to skate a mini ramp because we didn't grow up with them. So I
Yeah.
didn't know, like, and I see people still to this day, they do tricks and they want to do trick after trick after trick. And it's like, you can't do that. You have to do 50-50s, put in an axle
Mhm.
stall, a rock to fakie, a board. You have to put in these filler tricks
Yeah.
because you're not skating a vert ramp. This is a 3.5 foot high ramp. You land a hard trick, you ain't coming back up, and you're not going to have the speed on this small of a ramp.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not gonna get that same
Yeah.
momentum as
And
just pumping back and
that's
forth
when
on the
you
walls.
realize someone that doesn't learn how, they don't know how to skate a ramp. They know how to do tricks on a transition.
Well, and but you learn. And and some people, because
But
I'm
these
even
are,
thinking now, it's like, yeah, I'd be winded after two air tricks on a mini ramp back to
but
back.
I'll
It's
see
all
some
right,
of these
I'm done.
guys, and they have more talent and better than I ever was, and you're like, you don't know how to skate this thing.
Yeah.
It's
But
just funny. It's funny
it
to
is.
me because everyone grows up with transition now. Back in the day, we didn't have that. But again,
Yeah.
I could talk about this all day. But let's talk about a little bit of music because I know
Okay, cool.
you brought
Cool.
up Bad Religion, so of course I
I
used the Bad
have.
Religion.
Absolutely.
And you also, okay, so this was another thing you brought up about like being bigger, and as you said that's why wife was like, that's why no one wants to. You're bigger than everyone, But I believe that it's Fletcher from
Mhm.
Pennywise, who is a very large man,
Mhm.
and they talked to him, and he goes, "I've been knocked out once by a guy that was like 5'4",
Exactly.
and he
I do
said
not
I let him
underestimate
hit me
anyone.
because I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do? And he knocked me out.
Yeah. No, and again, it's just wisdom that comes from age, but it never was me. I've never been that guy that's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to lean over you," or just be I've always been gentle giant. Hey, yo, like it doesn't need to go there. The de-escalator, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. I've always been that guy that is
Yeah,
just, we don't need to take it there. Life's too short, man. Let's just chill out. If it's a bar situation with a bunch of buddies and tempers are flaring, you know what? It's cool. Everyone be calm. I'll buy a round. Next one's on me. Let's just chill, right? I've never been a hothead, or I've never underestimated anyone, because I've had friends, like I said, who I've seen friends knock out dudes that are bigger than me,
Mhm.
that are shorter than me, like probably shorter than you. There's no like technique when you talk about, look, there are Brazilian jiu-jitsu and cage fighting schools all over the place in all sorts of shopping centers where people will break you down
Yes.
in a heartbeat. And this goes for men and women. I don't underestimate anyone. I am just trying to live peaceably. I have been in 2 fights in my life, both of which I did not start, but I ended them. And I'm not saying that from a, I ended them, you should see the other
No.
guy. I ended them by legitimately holding the other person until they calm down. Like, just like bear hug, bring him in close, like, bro, chill out. What's going on? It shouldn't come to this, right? Or, well, there was one time where I just held them till they calmed down. There was another time where one person punched me in the chest, so then I punched them in the chest, and then after they collapsed, I picked them up. Like, okay, all right, how you doing, buddy? You want to talk about this now? Like, what is going on? And both of those times were middle school, over some girl they had a crush on, or their girlfriend who broke up with them. And well, they heard their girlfriend liked me, and I was chatting them up, and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just a friendly dude. Yeah,
You gotta love that. Um, all right, so you know, what types of music did you listen to going in, from
Mhm.
high school into college? I know obviously Bad Religion is not something that people go, "Oh, I picked that really up on the radio."
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you talked a lot about skateboarding. I could tell you actually were in the culture.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't realize like there is a true culture, and
Yeah.
it's not putting down other people's, but there is something
Mhm.
very special about when you're in this tiny little culture. So, what kind
I
of music did
listened
you get into?
to everything. I mean, Tony Hawk was big, instrumental in introducing me to a lot of the stuff I know I talked about. My introduction to Bad Religion was Crazy Taxi. That's where, I had mentioned, I think before in a chat, where 10 in 2010, like that's where I
Yeah,
learned a little more about the Bad Religion. I'd always heard of them and I know they'd be in mixes, but I was like, oh, I really I knew who the Offspring was. I was big into the Offspring right around when I started skating. Green Day, Blink. So as I mentioned, I grew up moving back and forth from San Diego to Irvine, California. So I was right out there at the height of I say the height of the ska movement, but ska was pretty big. So you had Boss Tones, and no doubt Tragic Kingdom, right when that dropped and they were getting really big. I was big into that. Hold on. um, so yeah, I've listened to a lot of different music, and then even some of what I appreciated about the Shorties crew, like the Chad Muska and Peter Smolik, like those different bits where it's like the skate videos. It wasn't your traditional punk. It wasn't your well, it wasn't always. Of course, they used some of that, but it even
yeah.
incorporated some of the rap music into it, which kind of was like, that wasn't
They
always
were the big change into rap that
exactly.
I
And
was
so
not a huge fan of.
I mean, I was big into rap too, but I was listening to Green Day and everything with friends, but Chad Muska and again the Tony Hawk games, which had a good mix,
Yeah.
especially once Pro Skater 2 came out, where there was even more of a mix. And then oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of who the mix up was with Chuck D, Turn It Up. Was it Anthrax? It wasn't Anthrax. Was it? Wait, was it Public Enemy and Anthrax?
Public Enemy and Anthrax. Bring the noise.
Okay, all right, cool, yeah. And then of course you had Static X, and I forget the actual rap group later on that did it was Dead Presidents, who was bigger than hip hop. That was in the Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX. But you get these crossovers that were kind of like different generations walk this way with Aerosmith and Run DMC, where it was just like it
Yeah.
was a cool mix mash
I had
of
no idea that was an Aerosmith song because I remember seeing that when I was a kid, and everyone was like, the guys busting the wall. That's their song. I'm like, no, it's not. It's Run DMC. I did
but
not
yeah,
have that
so
deep of a voice as a kid.
yeah. So I mean, it was this cool thing where my hip hop friends, my black friends, who, growing up in San Diego, I mean, they would start to eventually get into skating too, but they were kind of like, oh, well, they weren't really into that. But when Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out, I mean, everybody was into the games, and so everybody was listening to the soundtrack. So it exposed everyone. It exposed the punk and the ska fans to hip hop. It exposed the hip hop fans to punk and ska. And now I could segue between my different groups of friends a lot more seamlessly. And it was kind of like, okay, now you guys are getting it. This is what I was trying to put you guys on to begin with. But yeah, man, I'm all over the map in different musical stylings. And what's really cool is, yep, De La Soul. Oodles of O's is one of my favorite songs from De La Soul.
I
Yeah.
gotta say though, as a skateboarder though, and
Mhm.
growing up and and navigating different types of people, you had to sit back and go, all this like dress culture comes from skateboarding, right? I don't care what anyone says. I'll go to my grave because I watched things that we got made fun of, and then 2 years later, everyone's doing it, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, we did that.
Yeah, I mean, it was all over the place, but it was kind of cool. I mean, I'd say different cultures influence, like, yeah, the skate culture absolutely influenced the rap culture. The rap culture definitely influenced the skate culture. So it was just a good marriage of different things, and I'm all for people just having fun. Hold on. So would you say? Oh, what would you say is the quintessential punk rock band? Punk. Oh, punk. Well, he's asking you, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a capital P. But
Well,
I'll,
I
I'll
think
try and think of my answer. But you go ahead. Yeah.
a Bad Religion, Circle Jerks, but there's so many different ones because there is a difference between you have your East Coast and your West Coast, and there is difference when you go to like Minor Threat and stuff. And I'm not the only straight edge guy that doesn't like Minor Threat or Fugazi. Um, and then you have, you know, the, all the California bands. But then you also have, I'm not a fan of the Ramones, but I would be, I would be crazy not to say that they're not super influential.
Billy
And same
Street
with all the
Bob.
ones that came over from Europe, even though I didn't. Again, that is completely not my thing, and
Okay.
it's not the Sex Pistols. I will say that right now. But Bad Religion, because they have stood the test of time.
Okay.
We started in '79, still going strong, and you can hear the sound in all those late '80s and early '90s punk bands. They were on Epitaph and on Fat Records. They
Yeah.
have they all have that. But bands like Operation Ivy, who made one album, and yet you still hear it. I mean, they became, well, two of them became Rancid. So, there's a whole bunch. But if you ask me, it'd probably be Bad Religion because they're the ones that have actually stood the test of time.
Okay. All right. Cool. That I don't really even know. Like, I'm not even in depth. Just like all what you like. So you're bringing up memories. Like I had forgotten about Operation Ivy, and even I didn't even realize that Operation Ivy was like kind of pivoted into Rancid. Like I didn't know that was a
They
like.
started No Doubt too.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Well,
Cool.
not to the back. They started Dance Hall Crashers.
Okay.
And then they wrote stuff for No Doubt. A matter of fact, Tim Armstrong won a Grammy, I believe, for either a No Doubt song or a Pink song, or maybe he won one for both, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
That's cool. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Yeah.
Bad Brains, another
Bad
one
Brains
where
is
I'm
good.
not a huge fan of Bad Brains. I think they have great songs, but I think they have some awful songs. But yeah, they somehow mixed, and I do not like reggae at all. They somehow mixed reggae and punk together. And
okay, well, punk. I mean, well, I know at least ska had a lot of its origins in reggae. So okay, all right, cool.
But Sick of It All has a song called "Crazy White Boy Shit," and it was because people heard Bad Brains and they were saying, "Oh, this is just crazy white boy shit," and they're like, "Yeah, it's a black reggae punk band." So like you're completely wrong. So okay, so let's say after you graduate, so you didn't play any sports. You didn't play any sports or anything?
Nope, didn't play any sports. My dad played all sorts of sports in high school, and he had bad back, bad knees, and everything. And so he was like, "I'm not allowed to play organized sports," even though, as I mentioned before, I was kind of a tank that I would always see the football coach who was also the wrestling coach in the halls of high school. When are you coming out? When are you coming out? Quip. When are you gonna, we got practice this day. And I was, no, I'm good. No, I'm solid. I can't. My mom won't let me. Like I was on the academic challenge, like Scholastic Bowl teams. I was like the team captain of the Scholastic Bowl team at my high school until I had an Allen Iverson moment where I was demoted from captain because I stopped showing up to practice. And I was talking to my coach. I was like, practice? We're talking about practice? You want to talk about practice? Like, what do you mean practice? Like, I know this. It's in my head. I don't need to practice. What? Buzzing? I can do this. I play video games. Like, whatever. Yeah, I was.
I do want to say this, Nolan, American Jesus, even though I hate that album from Bad Religion, that is my favorite song by far. Like my favorite song of theirs by far.
And then
we talked about that. That was kind of how I was like, oh yeah, I need to have you on because
Yeah, so no sports, well, no physical sports, mental sports of the mind, debate, and it's funny you mentioned earlier, like how we were talking earlier, how you like to do it more impromptu. I competitively did impromptu speaking, district champion in my junior year of high school. Yeah, so I would basically make stuff up on the fly. Again, just the art of being able to talk and to yap and yammer.
It is an art.
I used to do it competitively, and I have medals and trophies about, hey, this guy's a good yapper. So
I have 7,000 subs from it. That's what that's all that I've gotten from it. All right.
There you go.
A few super chats, and that's about it. All right. So you graduated high school.
Yep.
I take it. You went into college. Do you mind me asking what you went to college for?
I went to college for mechanical engineering, and I
Okay.
minored in applied mathematics. Yeah,
That sounds awful.
loved it, man. It's what I was into. Actually, in high school, I was part of an international baccalaureate program, which functionally was like a forced course. Like it's like forced AP or advanced placement. Only it's like you're in this track where you start at freshman year. Every single one of your classes are advanced, and you're writing college level papers as
Sound
you're
like
going through
my
high school. So my
daughter.
final thesis when I graduated was actually the Newtonian mechanics behind a kickflip. So major
Okay.
nerd, major skater. Like I said, I'm in and out of all the different social
So,
groups all throughout high school.
so
Yeah.
my buddy Tony that I skate
Mm.
with, he's gonna be 51 in a few days.
Okay.
That's how he was.
Okay.
He was always better than all of us. He had pure talent, like just pure talent, right?
Mhm.
But he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he went to Lawrence Tech, which is a very technical school, obviously, but
Mhm.
it's expensive and you have to be really smart to even get in there. But watching, he would break things down. And I remember telling him when I started skating again, and I go, as an adult now in my 40s, I understand how you used to look at things and how
Mhm.
it helps.
Yeah.
And I go, it's still super fucking annoying that you did it back then. But now I understand it. But everything you said, like my daughter, she's in all these
Mhm.
advanced classes.
Mhm.
Um, she's trying to get college courses now. She wants to be a lawyer. She wants to go to Michigan and be a lawyer.
Mhm.
Like, but she's the one that wants straight A's. We're not, like, I don't have to push her.
Yeah.
There's those parents that will push and push and push.
Mhm.
She wants to. When she gets a B plus, she's upset. I got a B plus. Man, I was
Party time. Yeah.
celebrating.
It's funny because so being the kid who sought out academic achievement to just demonstrate to get positive attention, right? From teachers or whomever, accolades. Yeah, I was the nerd who like when friends' parents were asking about like report cards, things like that. Oh, what'd you get? Oh, shucks, I got all A's except for one. I got an A minus, and I got to study harder. And then they're, why can't you be more like Matt? I'm sure most of my friends would say, like you said, the uh oh, like, oh no, I can't stand him. I can't stand, like, dude, like, come on, bro. Like, did you really bring that up? Did you have to share this? Did you have to say that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So I was like my other buddy Chris. He went to
mhm,
Michigan State to be a chemical engineer. He
mhm,
taught I don't know, he's the boss now, but he was teaching submariners what to do if there was a chemical or if there was a nuclear meltdown on their sub. Like that's what his job was.
oh wow, okay.
Which I think you die. I mean, that's and so we'd always be like, come on, Chris, you got all A's. Like calm down. You don't have to study. I didn't understand it until one day my son was saying something to my daughter about it. And she's like, so what that you got an A minus? So, and she's like, I don't care what you wanted. This is, and it finally
Mhm,
clicked,
yeah.
20 some years later, it went, this is how Chris felt when we were like, dude, you're already smarter than the rest of us. You're, like, but it meant something to her. And I'm like, that's how it felt for Chris. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care what you guys want. This is something that I'm doing for myself. Me, I just
One
wanted
of
to do a skateboard. That's
well,
all that I wanted to do.
one of the things about skateboarding that I appreciate that it's like why I've wanted to encourage my daughter in it and everything is it's one of the conversations I have with my daughter pretty regularly when she says something's hard. Oh, you say something's hard, now you're gonna get a speech from dad. Is all right, so can we do hard things? She's like, yeah, we can do hard things. She's like, we do. What else have you thought is hard that you had to like keep trying and then you eventually got it? And then once you get it, you're just like, okay, this is awesome. Skateboarding, right? How many times do you try a trick and then you fail and then you try it again and then you fail? I've never broken a board. We've talked about that too, where you've broken boards. I've never broken a board out of anger or frustration. It's just okay, all right, we keep going. And then
You broke them doing tricks, right?
I've broken them doing tricks. Yes,
Okay,
I've
all right.
never broken them out of anger, like where I've had friends who like stomp on a board and then I'm the one who's
Focus
sitting
it.
there going, okay, yeah,
I may have
that'll be
done
another
that.
$60. Now
I
you
may have done
understand
that
that
once or
you're done
two or
skating
three
now.
hundred times.
Like it was one of those like, why would you do that? Like you're done skating now. Can I use your board? No, I just watched you destroy yours.
But
No,
listen,
you cannot use
just
mine.
for the record, we all thought the same thing. Why would we do this?
Yeah.
after we did it. But usually at the moment that you're doing it, it feels good.
It's an
And
outburst,
then you
right?
instantly go, why did I do that?
Yeah, but it teaches you that trying, working through the frustration, handling the frustration. Because the more you get worked up about it or psych yourself out of something, the harder it can become, right? And then you're just like, you know what? I need to take a breath. I need to center myself. I need to focus. And then boom, like once you do start to nail it, you're just like, oh, like it just feels awesome. So it's the same thing where somebody's trying
Yeah.
for, I don't know, A's. Like if you're nailing all these other things and okay, you got an A minus or you got a B, like you're like, I know I could have gotten more or done more. So now I'm going to study even harder. It's more motivating. Like, yeah, it's disappointing you didn't land it. But like as a skater, you'd never say, well, who cares if you can't land an inward heel flip? Like you've got trays down pat. Like, what does it matter? You're like, no, I want the heel flip.
Are
Like,
you
you
doing
know,
the same stuff that I am? Because I literally just saw on Instagram how to do an inward heel flip, which I can't do.
Mhm.
I've never been able to do, and I think it is one of the most underrated tricks ever.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
cool.
it. When it's done properly, it looks awesome. Unlike a varial kickflip, which looks awful. I'm very
I don't understand. Like, so that's another thing I never understood the hate for, where people are like, "Well, if you're gonna varial flip, just tray." And it's like, but what if I just want a varial flip? Like, I don't want to tray flip. I don't. But yeah.
So the reason why I don't like them, and we used to do them when we were younger, is it looks incomplete to me. Because,
Okay.
but an inward doesn't, a front side one doesn't, a front side heel flip, very heel flip doesn't, but that one for some odd reason, it just feels like once it flips, it almost always goes too far and doesn't look right. But I used to do them when I was younger. I didn't think that when I was younger, but as you get older and style becomes
You're
something a
thinking
little
style,
more.
aesthetics. That's cool. I mean, and if that's your style, that's all good. But yeah,
And
I
also
never.
think the
I
laser flip.
didn't.
I
What'd you
also
say?
think the laser flip is ugly as shit.
Laser flips. I can't even begin to understand.
360 heel flip, which
Yeah.
it doesn't look right. Though a varial heel flip, I love.
Yeah.
But I feel
Okay.
like, and I know
So
there's
it's like
some
the
people
opposite.
going,
Like a kick, if it's a kick flip, you got to do the tray flip instead of the varial. But if it's a
yeah,
heel flip, you got to do the varial instead of the laser
yeah,
flip. Like
because you can catch a varial, a laser flip, 360 heel flip. You cannot catch it. It is not possible because it's just going somewhere.
Nolan, look at if you highlight Nolan's thing where he said he popsicles and never tried doing another heel flip again. That how do you do? Well, I guess if you're trying a heel flip and it goes wrong, yeah, it goes north. We used to call those credit cards.
Yes, the credit card.
Yeah, but
when you're this short,
I never thought about that. Yeah, that's rough.
there is no board that I can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I stick my knees out, I'm catching it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It is painful, MCR. But yeah, I forget what we were talking because we got back. We were just talking about trying to do your best and learning how to persevere and learning how to get a trick or learning how to adapt the trick in order to for your style. There are some tricks that you know what you can keep pushing, or you could get something close to it. Or how do you tweak it to where it fits your footing, what you're comfortable?
You sound a lot like Rodney Mullen when he talks
Okay.
about it. And I'm saying that in a very positive way because I told you I love how Rodney Mullen talks. He talks about how he equated everything he learned like in school to skateboarding, and it's one of those things. So again, I wasn't like when you said the math that you did, I'm like, sounds awful. Like I'm just seeing numbers and I'm like, nah, that's all right.
But I mean, I was always into it. I mean, I kind of broke down skating that way of, all right, it makes sense. Like a pressure flip works this way because, and I know people feel some type of way about pressure flips, but it's like, it works this way because, all right, you're doing this. Or when you're trying to ollie, you're really trying to like jump and get out of the way. So it would help in my explanation of things. It would help in my approach to skating, of even naturally knowing where to like bear down, knowing like, okay, teaching my daughter, if you lean this way, the board's going that way. If you lean that way, don't put too much weight on the front. Don't put too much weight on the back. Like you want to balance, right? And if you want to turn, like you don't have to lift the tail and turn, lean and turn. Unless you're trying, now you can lift the tail if you're really turning sharply, but trying to just teach her different things about how to move and how to like that just is how my mind worked. And so going into engineering and even applied mathematics, where one of the coolest classes I took was what was it? It was math and nature. And we were learning about fractals and learning about how you can predict there are algorithms where you can predict the direction a tree is going to branch or how a leopard spots are going to form. Like there's so much math in nature that I was like, this is just a really rad course to take.
See,
I was just into it.
That is interesting to me, but and I think a lot of, I wasn't good in school and I went into the workforce. I like to learn things, but I think when you have to sit down and learn something because you're told to, that's when people struggle. But you telling me stuff like this is like, that is interesting to me.
And so what you're describing though, because I've been in the honors classes and did the whole honors track, and I even thought about it like when our daughter was younger, they're doing the assessments. Do you want to put her in the advanced placement? And I'm thinking, he doesn't really know what she likes right now. I want her to be a kid. Like, I don't want her to be stressed. Like high school was stressful, right? Oh, somebody broke out Fibonacci sequence, golden ratio, whoop, whoop.
I have no idea what that
is. But understanding that, and my wife and I have both had conversations with our daughter. So me, I'm more mathematically minded, but I appreciate my wife who is more into literature and history, and how we've fostered both of those things with our daughter. It's funny, earlier my wife was whispering to me when we were going to pick up my daughter. She was like, I did it. I successfully instilled a love of reading in our daughter. Like, our daughter will read so much so that my daughter shames me for not reading as much as she and my wife do. Like, she actually made me a little book for like Father's Day, like kind of a, hey, this is why I love you. These are the reasons, blah, blah, blah. But the title of the book is A Book You Will Actually Read. And I was like, how are you going to roast me on the cover of your gift for me on Father's Day, which I was kind of proud.
Have you seen the stuff that I post that my daughter makes me for?
I've seen some of it, but it's fun. There's a dynamic with dad and their kids. Yeah, dads and their daughters it's like, no, I appreciate the sarcasm because our daughter really is coming into her own with her sense of humor. And it's fun. It's fun where it's like, but she also understands the nuance of, okay, here's how this works. You and I have this dynamic, right? Mom, you do not talk to mom. And so of course mom saw it and she was like, oh my goodness. And so I was like, no, it's funny. I appreciate it. It's hilarious. Like some of the stuff that she put in the book. But just that dynamic of understanding. And it's the same thing with her friends. Of some friends are going to want to be a little more goofy, some friends are more serious. This is how you maneuver through the world. This is how you understand how to read the room. Are you joking too much? Like when she gets to the point to where, okay, she's past that threshold, I call her Chuckles. I'm like, okay, Chuckles, like pump the brakes. Like,
oh, did I lose or did you lose? What the fuck? I think I lost you. I'm looking over here. Quip he said he had like an hour and a half. I don't know if you're still there or not because we were all listening. And I can see I'm still live. So hopefully we can get Quip to come back here. A bunch of people still watching, and I still have a lot to get through. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, he got a. Well, we might have to. Okay, so he said he had a blackout. Power just came back on. So let's find out if he's going to be able to jump back in here. I'm going to text him right now. See if he can jump back on. Because if he can't, I fully understand. Because let's be 100% honest. When you lose power and you have kids and a family, you definitely don't want to leave them just hanging. So, you know what? We'll quickly hear from Mossman while we'll see if he can actually jump back on here because I was pretty interested in what he had to say. So, where's Mossman?
Oh, hey guys. So Lawrence, he had to step away for a little bit. he's got a case of the Grumble Duff. So he asked me to kind of watch over a stream. He put me in charge of y'all. He said to me, "Oh, Moss Man, I have a case of the Grumble Duff, and I need you to watch myself for a little bit so nobody leaves and finds out that there's more interesting things to watch on YouTube. And also, I hate Ohio." So I was like, oh, dang, so now I have to come up with a topic for my very own show. And I was like, oh, what about talking about your favorite toy stores? So my favorite toy store is HelloDopeToys.com. So they used to have this really bad website. It used to look real scammy. Like if I gave them money, they were going to go spend it on like blow and hookers. But now their website is really nice. And like I can just go in and do like 1-2 click. And then my order's placed. And they ship super fast, guys. They ship everything in 1 business day. So like I get all my toys first. So when I'm out there on the playground and all my friends are like, oh, dang, Moss Man, where'd you get that action figure? I still have to wait 17 months for mine. And I'm just like, well, I went to HelloDopeToys.com and I just pushed the buttons and then they shipped it out to me. And the packaging is so nice, guys. Like, I opened up the box. I thought, oh, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this kind of packaging. It's so nice. But then my trash can gets full because of all the packing stuff. And I was just like, oh, dang, I just changed the trash. But now I gotta change the trash again. Oh, you're right, Matthew Matson. You can use the code APWT at HelloDopeToys.com and save 10% on your order. So how that works is, so you're gonna save 10%, and then a Punk with Toys, he has to pay that 10% that y'all saved. So if you don't like Lawrence, you can just go to HelloDopeToys.com and just buy a bunch of stuff and rack up his bill. So then like at the end of the month, they're like, Hello Dope Toys is like, oh, Lawrence, you owe us $1 million because of all the 10% codes that everybody used. And yeah, that's how that works. Okay, guys, so it looks like it's time for me to go now. So make sure you go to HelloDopeToys.com and like and subscribe. And then in the comments, put what your favorite toy store is. But if it's not HelloDopeToys.com, I'm probably just going to delete it, okay? So, all right, guys, bye!
All right.
Hey, sorry about that. There was just
haven't
a
had that happen
blackout.
yet.
Everything went off, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And then, of course, it froze up. But yeah, that was one of the pranks that my daughter was just playing. No, just joking.
I mean, I've had it where I've lost everything, but I've not had it where someone else has. So if you had that on your bingo card, you may have just won.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, there we go. I'm back.
Got Thanos Copter jumped in here.
Awesome. Hey, Thanos.
Right as you blacked out. That's kind of crazy, huh?
Coincidence? I don't know. I don't know. Thanos snapped my power off. And then he said, you know what? That's enough. I'll snap it back on. So
I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but he puts up some risque pictures. I'll just say that.
Fair enough.
Action figure risque. He's like, I keep seeing if I ever get like booted and yeah.
He's testing the limits. He's seeing how much can he get away with action figures.
Well,
okay.
He'd be on the Clubhouse and he'd be like, he goes, I lost 5 subscribers today, but I gained like 10. And I'm like, why would anyone unsubscribe? Like, they should know by now what you're posting. Like,
well, yeah, because you could see it unless he's got a private page.
No. Like it was every Wednesday too.
Oh, okay.
And like, it's like he's like, yeah, I lost 5 subscribers today, and it's like, why? Like, people like they can see what you post. Like, why would you? But hey, you know what? That's each their own.
Maybe it's parents finding out which accounts their teenagers or their middle schoolers are following. They're like,
I hope he has no teenagers watching. So, all right. So you go to college, and she's there for engineering.
Yep.
But you said you met your wife while in college, and you kind of already told like she walked in and saw your toys and was, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, she was just like, this is cool. Actually, so I met my wife through friends, a friend group where we used to play Dungeons and Dragons a lot. And so there was one night where we would always have board game nights. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me see here quickly. Where's it at? Where is it at?
Absolutely. Been ashamed of it. Yes, I was I don't say that I was a nerd before being a nerd was cool, because I made being a nerd cool, right? So there you go. It's not on you, it's in you.
It's
And
one of
so,
I'll say stuff like that, and people look at me. I'm like, yeah, I collect toys and I ride a skateboard. Like,
yeah.
if you don't see the irony in that, then I can't help you. All right. If you can't see the
Exactly.
irony of me calling you a
Multifaceted.
nerd for Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering, then I can't help you at all.
Exactly. So yeah, I met my wife in a group where we played Dungeons and Dragons and different board games, and so we were just into just nerdy stuff as a group. And so when we started dating, she knew all about the action figures. She knew exactly what she was getting into, and she was with it, and I was with it, and it was awesome. She
That's cool.
actually has her childhood toys. Like, she's got a collection of her own of the Playmates Star Trek action figures. So she was real big into Next Gen, real big into Deep Space Nine. As a matter of fact, I know we talked Star Wars at the beginning of this conversation, but she got me into Trek. And in a roundabout way, her dad really got me into Trek, because it would mortify her, or it did mortify her at the time. But first time I met my father-in-law, first time ever meeting him, and we're driving in a car somewhere. We were actually in two different cars, where her mom's in the car with her sister and our brother-in-law and like the nieces, and then we're driving in the car with her dad. And her dad decides to just go on this random tangent about the Star Trek episode Amok Time. And for those who are unfamiliar, that is the episode where like Spock gets super horny, like as far as being a Vulcan, and he needs to go back and like mate, and there's all sorts of weirdness going on. Oh, am I frozen again?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It looked like I was frozen. And so it's like, this is the one episode. I don't know if he was trying to embarrass my wife. I know she was just slowly like sinking, and sinking like as her dad was going on. But I was just like, no, this is cool. Like, he's excited about something. Like, I get passionate and inspired by other people who are passionate and inspired by things, right?
Yeah.
So when he was talking about it, I was like, okay, cool. So my wife was always into it, but she never really pressed the issue. But we started watching more Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, which is one of my favorite series. Objectively, Deep Space Nine is the best of like all the Star Trek series.
Matson will agree with you. I would disagree, but I like the Next Generation. But I mean, I don't think it's bad.
Next Gen is good. Next Gen is my wife's favorite, but she'll agree. Like, objectively, you get what's cool about Deep Space Nine is the character development. It's not so episodic. Like, you're building like their entire arcs. Where
I'll say
Next
that
Gen, sorry, go ahead.
DS9 got better once they got the Defiant, because they weren't stuck on a stupid space station all the time.
That's fair. And so it was a good balance, right?
Yeah.
As far as they were dialing things in. But me personally, talking about my journey with Trek and my wife being into Trek and collecting all the different Playmates Trek action figures, my personal favorite is Enterprise, even though I hate how it ended because of the writer's strike. But part of the reason why I love Enterprise so much, just personally, even though I can objectively say, okay, I get it, it's not the best. One, big Scott Bakula fan from Quantum Leap. And two, Enterprise was the first series that I watched in Star Trek where I wasn't given homework assignments from my wife while we were watching it, right? Because it's one of those things where if you know Trek and you're watching episodes, like, again, so Next Gen is one of those things where like you're watching it. Deep Space Nine, there's more payoff. Like, yeah, it's telling a narrative and from one episode to another, and you need to follow it. But Trek is one of those things where she's like, pay attention and make a note to what he said there, because that's going to come back up in season 4. And I'm like, come on, like you're giving me homework now. I'm trying to just be present and everything. She didn't really watch Enterprise.
Yeah, you want to, like, you don't want someone to say you need to watch this So
Yeah.
later on, you want to be like, oh my God, wait a minute. Wasn't there an episode? And then she would be like,
exactly. Let it unfold in front of me.
Exactly.
Don't say that's gonna pay off. Like, and I know it's because she was excited.
Yeah.
Hey, skateboarding and good rap music. There you go. But it's a multifaceted person. So now we're even talking Trek, right? I liked Enterprise. Oh, haven't made it through Enterprise. Try it out, Thanos. Yeah, just know now that the ending again is kind of rushed because of
strike.
writer strike. Like you could tell they tried to put a bow on it really quick. And so they didn't really do the ending justice, but overall I enjoyed the series just because I could watch it, and my wife and I were exploring it and learning it together, where she was like, oh wow. And then as we were watching Enterprise, she would say, oh, this harkens back to this from the original series, this harkens back to this aspect. They explain what goes on with the Klingons ridges, about how they lose how that could have potentially been caused by a virus. Like, it's really cool stuff where it's Enterprise is almost like the Rogue One of a lot of the other things that you see in the across other series, where sometimes they have episodes to fill in the blanks that I appreciated.
I mean, I do know that they, and I don't know what they said, but I know they explained the whole rigid thing.
Yeah.
Did they ever explain why it looked like our ships were way more way more advanced, but then all of a sudden we're no longer advanced? That's what always drove me nuts about Enterprise. When you look at Star Wars, even when they went back, they made sure they didn't, even though technology to create the ships has come further, they didn't make the dashboards and everything look more advanced. Where Enterprise, you're looking at it going, all right, dude, this is before the original series, and it's so much more advanced. And I understand why, because you want that look. And I'll be 100% honest, if they would have gone back and they would have made it look like the original, you would have been like, this looks really bad.
Fair enough.
But the continuity is...
That's a good point as far as the practical effects on the set versus making everything touchscreen. Like the L cars should have been more developed later on than it was. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know if they ever addressed that, but that's a fair aesthetic point.
Yeah. But again, take yourself out and you're like, I'm just watching it for the story. How does it connect into it? So I mean, that really, again, that was just one of those things that went. I never watched Enterprise. It just was. I think I tried. I didn't really care for Voyager either. There were some good parts, but
I feel like Voyager wrapped up too, and Voyager was running concurrently with
DS9.
With DS9, and the way that I'm not a big fan of how they wrapped up Voyager. It felt like, now I feel like it's cool they put some respect on Barclay's name. Like, I'm all for Lieutenant Barclay, and also Lieutenant Barclay fan as far as how they kind of like what happens in Picard. If you watch, have you watched Picard? Seasons 1 through 3?
I really liked season 3. The other two,
the way that they wrapped up season 3, which is effectively everybody just wanted season 3. You could skip season 1 and season 2 as a next gen fan and get, what was it? Was it season next gen ran 8 seasons or 9 seasons?
I think 9.
I think they ran 9. But basically, Picard season 3 is exactly all people wanted was a continuation of next gen. And so the fact that they gave fans the fan service, kind of the swan song, it was cool. Season 1 was cool to kind of give some closure for Data, because they did Data dirty in was it Nemesis? I think it was Nemesis. I was like, okay, that farewell to Data that was dirty. But the fact that they kind of brought it back around with season 1. So season 1 was cool. Season 2, I also enjoyed. You get a little more backstory from Picard, but season 3, and even the way they brought it around with the transporters, and it kind of went back to, Lieutenant Barclay was right the whole time. Like, he never trusted the transporters. And hey, he's one of the people who didn't get infected because he didn't trust it. So it's really cool. Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm glad you brought up Barclay so quickly. So you said your wife collects the Playmates Star Trek figures.
Yes, she does.
Ask her if she remembers the 1709 ones or the 1701 series. Okay. So there were 3 figures. It was, I want to say, Tasha Yar. It was Picard in the suit, like I want to say it was Picard in the suit, generation suit, and then there was Lieutenant Barclay. There was 1,701 of them made, 1701.
Okay, yeah,
So the
makes
first
sense.
two, I want to say Tasha Yarn and Picard. That's what they were. Barkley, they bumped up to 3,000. Still isn't a lot. Still isn't a lot.
Yeah.
I had two of them at one time. Found them at the exact same Toys R Us, both on the pegs. And then the
Okay.
next week, I found a third one, but some kid had already grabbed it, and I just wanted to see what it was. That's probably like the closest thing I ever found to like the treasure hunt Hot Wheels. I mean, I still never found a treasure hunt.
Okay. Yeah.
I also didn't look very often, but that's like the closest thing I found to something that was like super special.
That's
But
awesome.
she
Yeah. So
collects, you probably will remember.
she'll probably remember. I don't think now that you say that, I don't think she's got a Lieutenant Barclay in her collection right now because she's got oh yeah, the time. Oh, so I'm a huge Back to the Future fan, and it's funny because we just did a rewatch of that too with our daughter, and it's like, okay, I could see the gaps. I get it. I've got my nostalgia blinders on. I still love Back to the Future. Like even the very end of wait a minute, if Marty took the DeLorean back to the future to 1985 and it's on the train tracks, how did Doc build a whole time train? But I came to the conclusion that the answer all along was back in the first movie, and Doc built that time train through the power of love. That's it. He built that time train because he had a boo thing who was also very intelligent, very smart, so they did it together. But yeah,
talk about time travel. Hustle SM blowing hookers. He is clearly watching the Moss Man commercial that I was playing while you were gone. So when you get to this point, we're in the future and it's awesome.
Cool, awesome. But yeah, she's got when we started dating, so I would buy, and this is a trick that I little Quip tip. When I would buy different action figures or order different action figures, I would also look for something for her. So like I've got her, like she's got the bridge playset, which she didn't have as a kid. And so buying that and surprising her with that for Christmas, or like I got her the engineering playset. I got her the Deep Space Nine complete wave, at least with the card backs of Deep Space Nine. There are a couple of Deep Space Nine characters that are in like just the generic Trek backdrop like later on in the Playmates line, but with the Deep Space Nine carding, she's got all 22 of those. See, there you go. See, it's there. See, Allison, I'm just saying they gave you the hint to how it was going to end the whole time. But yeah, the Playmates figure is it. So she was into Playmates. She also collects Alien figures from the 40th anniversary from NECA. So
okay.
Once I stepped up, because I used to do a lot of the Playmate stuff. Actually, so flashing back to college, when I would collect, I was all over the place with my collection. Like I dipped and dabbled in like everything. I had some Voltron, had some Power Rangers, the regular series, the movie, Toxic Crusaders. But because I was all over the place and it wasn't really focused, I just had gigantic totes of everything. And I started to get high on my own supply, right? As an eBay dealer, right? Oh yeah, I'm totally buying this. Don't worry, I'm going to sell it. And then it kind of got out of hand. So then I pared down a lot and I unloaded a lot. And now that's part of why I'm so controlled with my collection. Like it all fits here, and I have like two little mini totes. Like they're not gigantic or anything, but I'm really specific about what I go about buying. I appreciate a lot, but I don't need all the things. And also, like I feel like my wife's collection is an extension of my collection too. So she'll get the like when I started back collecting, with some of the NECA turtle stuff that she would buy me, and she was like, okay, this stuff is kind of pricier, like I don't really get it. Because of Playmates Trek, you're gonna pick those figures up still on the cheap, right? Which is why it's still awesome to be able to get her stuff. But
it's
then
like Power of the Force.
yeah, but then when I bought her it was either for Valentine's Day or for Christmas one year, one of the presents that I got her was the Ripley, the NECA 40th Ripley, and Alien, the Xenomorph. I think I got her, yeah, 2 Xenomorphs and a Ripley. And she was like, okay, these are cool. Like, these are really cool. I get it now. And then she has that whole complete line. And she's getting more now into pricey stuff as far as like Lord of the Rings Lego. So she does Playmates Trek, NECA Alien, and Lord of the Rings Lego. I collect, so I've got like these little Funko Pops for just like cereal monsters and mascots, NECA Ninja Turtles, Got some Back to the Future stuff. The Jada, like the 4 different DeLoreans that are like 1/24th scale. And then I've got a couple of Marvel Legends. But I don't go much deeper than that. Like you mentioned earlier, like G.I. Joe fans and Classified fans. I like G.I. Joe Classified, but the way I've explained it to other people is it's like starting to collect Classified is like getting in a land war in Asia. It's a quagmire. Like, how do you get out? Like, what's your exit strategy? Like, I don't start a line now without having a good exit strategy of these are the characters I want. This is a complete team. This is a complete set. And Classified is one of those things that when you think they're done, they just drop an even cooler vehicle or figure or subline, or you get Cold Slither exclusives, and you're just like, no, I know just based on my past collecting skills that if I were to dip a toe back into Classified, that would start to like take over everything. So I have to, just knowing myself, appreciate it from afar.
Luckily I was in it from the beginning, so I don't have to chase those older figures. But you're right, like if you're into something like that, like I mean these people that are into Marvel Legends that have been in from the beginning, like I don't think you could be a completist with Marvel Legends. It'd be almost impossible because there's so many different Wolverines and Iron Man. Like it's almost impossible.
The way that I limited
G.I. Joe.
Sorry, go ahead. Say that
I
again.
can still do it with G.I. Joe.
Okay.
But if they keep going the way that they're going,
yeah,
it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, and with Marvel Legends, the way that I limit my collecting of Marvel Legends is cell shading. I am very specific. The only ones I have, and I know people freak out, oh my goodness, he gets the cell shaded, but my in my mindset, I've got, it's like cartoons, right? So these are your commercial like characters that would pop up Saturday mornings. And then I've got my cell shaded Spider-Man and the VHS cell shaded X-Men, even though that's one of the lines that might get sold because I was really hoping they'd finish out that line. They're not going to finish out that line. They're not going back to the windowless VHS
That was
style.
so
They're
weird
not.
it was so weird that they're like, hey, we're not gonna do them this year. We're gonna move to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it was
then X97 dropped, and they're doing the X97 carded figures, which are cool, and I like and appreciate those designs. It's just those aren't the designs that I personally want to collect. I want the old like X-Men 92 designs, which it's similar. I get it's a continuation, but they are different. They're different, and so it's kind of a bummer.
One's not.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer that they didn't go with like they had 3 more to go. They had Beast, Rogue, and Gambit. Those are the only 3 they didn't do in the VHS line. It's like so close. And I thought, you know what? I'll collect the carded retro versions because they did the retro carded like Toy Biz style Beast and Rogue and Gambit, and I had them, and I was just like, it doesn't feel right to have 3 that aren't cell shaded and then the other 6 are. This is just weird. So I've still got them because it's cool and they go with the other.
How mad would it make you if you sell those off and then they announce those 3?
It wouldn't make me mad. It takes a lot to make me mad. I'd just go, it happens, because what am I going to do with that money? I'm going to use the money that I get back from selling them off. I'm not going to try and gouge. It's just, okay, cool. Somebody wants these. Cool, take them. I take that money and I buy another figure that I love looking at in my collection. It's no big deal. It happens. These things ebb and flow. Nothing is forever, right? So it's part of the game.
No, I get it. Like, I can't say I can't do that because I've sold off almost all my Motu Origins. But even when I started selling them off, I was like, I really like these. Like, I bought these for a reason. Then you start, but you start running out of space.
Yeah. And
I'm full on into G.I. Joe. That's always been my number one of everything. And I will say this: to get rid of the Origins, what made it so easy was when somebody said, I think they needed Triclops, and I was like, you finally. Once somebody took one of the main villains or your good guys out of it, then it was easy to just kind of, you know what, I can get rid of the rest of these because now the main guys that we all saw in the cartoon are gone. I don't need them, though. I still did keep more than I had planned.
So it's, I mean, that is part of the hobby is what do you like at that time? What do you hold
Yeah.
on to? What do you feel like should take that real estate up in your house, that space, your money, your time, hunting, your resources? These are things that if you're passionate about it, fantastic. But when you do kind of lose that spark and go, oh, well, okay, I don't really care about this line. That's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's
But
just, yeah.
This is what I'm going to say.
Mhm.
What you said about Marvel Legend, about the self shaded.
Mhm.
I've actually started looking at my Gargoyles, going, they're not going to finish these. Like they're not. I have almost all of them.
Mhm.
I didn't buy like the real expensive VHS one. I didn't buy the Vows one because it's the exact same. But I'm like,
Yeah.
you showed us 2 years ago 3 figures, and you clearly just said, well, we're not quitting the line. We're just not going to produce
Mhm.
anything. So now I'm sitting at them going, maybe it's just time to take them down, because I was all for them.
Mhm.
Now I started doing more photography, so I'm like, I doubt I would sell them. And not to mention, I can go to Target and find every single one of them. But I'm like, it's very disappointing because I'm like, you have Macbeth. And there was 3 that they showed off, and I'm like,
Macbeth, was it Cold Stone? Did they do Cold
Coldstone?
Stone?
No,
Okay.
that was one of them. And
They
then there
didn't.
was, I forget who the other one was, but there's so many more that they can still do. And it was like, they went from like real short, 1 here, 1 there. Then they dropped like 3 at a time. And you're
Yeah.
like, and then, oh man, they're going all in. And then they just stopped.
And it's
And
a
you're like,
bummer too, because even if you would have got so many things went weird with the NECA line. Like I understand it's a business.
Yeah.
We can still lament their business decisions on, okay, you're gonna make us buy this Eliza character so that we can get the folded wings. Now a lot of people would have bought the Eliza character, but the fact that they were kind of making you purchase other
bothered a
figures
lot
to
of
get
people.
parts for other figures, it's kind of like, well, that's kind of lame.
But
You
I don't
couldn't
think
just
that,
put the folded
I'll
wings.
be,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I don't think they planned it. I don't think they
I
thought they
think
would
there
do
were a lot of
it.
complaints. That's true. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
there were so many complaints about just having the gigantic wingspan on Goliath that they said, "Oh, we're throwing in the folded wings with was it Bronx?"
Bronx had those,
Yeah.
but then they started doing the folded wings and different. And for me, I told everyone, I go, I already knew the wings were huge.
Mhm.
That didn't bother me. You know what takes up space? Are their tails. They're the
Oh,
ones that hook
okay.
on everything when you go to move one, and that tail catches
It
something.
takes everything else down.
That's the frustrating, because you can wedge
Okay.
the wings, like you can move them up and down. I had no
Mhm.
problem, but those
Okay.
tails,
Yeah.
you go to grab Goliath, and man, all of a sudden 6 or 7 of them go, and you're like,
But at least they finished the main line, right? They finished the main team, which is what a
yeah,
lot of people were looking for. Like, I can't think of any main
well,
characters.
they got them all.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, they did Did they do the plain suited Xanatos? Is that one
Yes,
of the ones that they didn't get to? They did.
yeah,
Okay, all right. Because I
they
remember
did
they had the
him.
red Xanatos
Yep.
suit
Then
that
they got
came
the
out.
robot one,
Yeah,
and the robot one came out at the same time of the robot Gargoyle, because all they had to
the
do was
steel
put a head
clan.
on them,
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
know
I bought
people
all
were excited.
those. Yeah, so I I collect vicariously through other family members too. So my younger brother, the middle brother that I'm closest to, he collects the gargoyles, and by him collecting them, I mean I bought him all of like those were the presents that he would get because he was a major gargoyles fan like growing up, so he loved them. But yeah, so he's got all of those over there, and of course I was like, well, I got to get you 2 Steel Clan. Like you don't just have like nobody has this one. So it's like having one
I
Foot
do.
Soldier or one Cobra Trooper. You only have one Steel
I only
Clan.
bought one because they were expensive, and don't. I've
Yeah.
looked. I've looked
Okay.
numerous times. The funniest thing is the Steel Clan one doesn't fit in with where I have all my other gargoyles, so he's still hanging from my ceiling above all my classified stuff.
Okay.
He just sits there like,
He kind of fits in. He could be like a Cobra robot.
yeah, he's just up
Gargoyle is
there.
his code name.
He's
No?
just up
Okay.
there. I saw a lot of people buying like 4 or 5 of them. Right, I'm like, but then again, I have so many bats, and I have other figures that I order from multiple places, hoping that I'll be able to cancel so I can get it early to do a review, and then like I'm stuck with a Dark Lawn. I have an extra Dark Lawn and Footloose right now because of how long it took to get it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who am I really to say anything about that?
Dark Lawn is one of the recent drops from Classified that, again, I appreciate it from afar. He's got Cabal from Mortal Kombat vibes, but just the fact that he's part of the Destro clan, and that I think I forget, that his file card, it says something about like being an investment banker or like a venture capitalist that I just thought was hilarious. Like on top of like, oh, he's a mercenary, he does this, also venture capitalist, he invests in tech. I don't know, like it's just it's a funny background story.
It's like Raptor that he's an accountant. He's Cobra's accountant. Like what? Or Mindbender was he was a dentist, and
like they have jobs in Cobra on top of, they're not just bad guys. It's like, well, yeah, I hate Joe, and I'm fighting for this terrorist organization, but also somebody's got to balance the books. We got to make sure we're spending a lot on uniforms. We're losing helmets. People are like,
but that's what the Crimson Twins, the Extensive Enterprises, like they ran their shell corporations. Like they worked shell corporations in, and like no one knew what a shell corporation was. That's what Disney did to buy Disney World, buy all that property.
True. Yeah.
So you kind of talked about what you collect. Now let's talk about YouTube, because you now are co-host of,
Geek Dad Live on the Geek Dad Life channel. Yeah.
Now I have a lot of things to say about that.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a lot. I really love when I used to really love Geek Dad Life. I love John and Jay. I love their chemistry that they had, and I really felt when John left, you could see that there wasn't a lot of chemistry, in all honesty.
Okay.
Because you're bringing in different people, and there was no cohesion. And then you started popping in, and I had seen you a couple of times. I didn't realize you were like the full-time co-host, and that's kind of why I went back and started watching, because I'm like, there's chemistry. But I have to ask, because I didn't notice this until you came out. So I know John left, but did he have any say? Like, was there a reason why there was never another co-host? Because there had to be an arm wrestling match between you two, and whoever won got to be the. Because I didn't realize how big your arms were. You showed up, and I'm like,
No, so
bro is the only one allowed to have bigger arms than me on here. All right.
No, so I mean, I enjoyed when Jay was bringing the different people on. So I mean, I'd been a GDL family member for a long time. I came in, learned about the channel when there was the debate between retro blasting and I'm forgetting the other guy. The other guy who used to work for Mattel. And so I learned, so I started off on the Mad Hatter channel, and then Mad Hatter was doing a commentary. So he was like, hey, I'm going over to Geek Dad Live. And then I started watching that. Or at the time it was Toy Geeks, which you mentioned. So Toy Geeks was the show. And then Toy Geeks turned into the podcast that he does with Dan Larson of Secret Galaxy.
Yep.
So he was like, all right, I need to differentiate the live stream. And then he realized it was right there in the name, right? Of, hey, well, if it's Geek Dad Life, then the channel when we live stream should be Geek Dad Live. And that's when he pivoted with the rename. It was really subtle. A lot of people didn't notice it. It's funny because I've actually hosted Geek Dad Live a few times by myself. And somebody in the comments tried to say, who is this guy? Doesn't he know it's Geek Dad Life, not Geek Dad Live? And it's like, I think I know the name of the show that I'm hosting or co-hosting.
I'll say this. John's last episode.
Yeah.
When they were doing the whole thing, I went, oh my God, the name of the show is Geek
Toy
Dad.
Geeks?
Toy Geeks.
Yeah.
It never dawned on me that the name of the show was Toy Geeks. Like, people probably say, hey, Monday night, Punk with Toys. Well, the name of the show is Monday Night Toy Ramblings, right?
Exactly.
It never dawned on me to the last episode that he was on. I'm like, and he's wearing like hats to say Toy Geeks. I'm like,
yeah.
I feel real fucking stupid.
It happens because you don't always read like the captions or the smaller things because
Yeah.
you know the channel. It's like, a punk with toys. Like even it's Thursday with friends. Like I don't even know the name. Yeah, it's Thursday with a friend.
Thursday
Right?
with
So
a
I'm
friend.
misquoting it, calling it Thursday with friends. But it's you have the names of the show, but I guess Jay actually created another channel that is the Toy Geeks channel for the Toy Geeks podcast.
Yeah.
So it's branding wise, it's a little cleaner. But I don't blame anybody for getting the mix up. It's just, hey, let's all be cool about it.
Oh, yeah, it's-
Instead of trying to, the comments are funny. The comments are funny to me as far as this guy doesn't even know the name of the show. I go, where have you been? Like I've been like, do you not think Jay, you think Jay just gave over the show link? Like somebody actually like joined one of the live streams where Jay was away. I think it was while he was in Japan, and they were like, wait, who's this guy? I'm like, at that point, I had been doing it for like 2 months straight with Jay. And it's like, wow, okay, that's cool. I get it. Not everybody watches all the time, and that's fine. But it just it makes me chuckle.
It did seem weird because I don't think
Yeah.
John ever did it without Jay.
No. And it's funny because as far as behind the scenes putting things together, like I was just thinking about it, Jay is very much like you mentioned that he's very impromptu. Okay, cool. What came out over the week? Like we might have a quick 2-minute meeting beforehand, or he'll like text me earlier in
I've
the day,
heard
like,
that.
hey, we're gonna talk about these things. Don't worry about it. Where me, and this is where Brick something when I was talking with Brick of I'm very much okay, what are we talking about? And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, okay, we have all these things we want to cover, but if we only have this amount of time, then are we going to talk about this? Like, which one of the topics do we want to go in depth in? So we did this whole run sheet with Brick, and Brick was like, I've never done this. Like, dude, you're super detailed. Like, what? And he was like, it was a good exercise for him. And so I carried that same energy over into guest hosting because that's really how I started streaming is Brick was doing this thing in the new year of, hey, I just want to chat with people. I just want to chop it up. Exactly what you're doing. It was like a Thursday with friends only.
I've been on Bricks.
Yeah. So only exactly. So you've been on Brick show. So you know how that runs. And he just so happened to tap me at a time where I was like, you know what? New year, want to get into doing stuff in a more creative space. Like I'm getting back into digital art and drawing and different things. And my daughter's always been creative. Like she's real big into illustration, art design. And my wife is getting into painting. So we're all just taking different artistic endeavors. So as I was getting back on the computer and drawing things and stuff like that, I would always watch. Well, Brick just kind of got me in a creative mood. So I was like, let me try my hand at this live streaming thing. Cool. I'll get on with Brick. And then Jay saw me on Brick's show and he was like, oh, that's awesome. Because I had always been just behind the Quip avatar monitor. Like, it's funny. People were like, oh, you don't look as much like Steve Urkel as I had anticipated. But any black kid who worked. Say again.
Holy shit, you do.
But
and he got bigger too. He got muscle.
He did. But I was going to say, well, any black kid who was scrawny in the 90s and wore glasses was compared to two people, either Carlton or no. If it was the way I spoke, which got me compared to Carlton, and it was the glasses that got me compared to Urkel, because those were two popular characters that everybody knew.
I'm gonna say I always laugh when Will would always make fun of Carlton because I'm like, as someone who works out, you can tell he's not a small guy.
Exactly. Carlton was always like, there were the different episodes where Carlton was like, he got caught out in his boxers or something, and it's like, dude was yoked. So it was just kind of funny that he's the nerdy square.
Who's before yoked? Will ever worked out. It wasn't exactly. Jack Will Smith. It was
This was pre-action movie Will Smith. Will Smith, like on Fresh Prince, was super. He was slim. Yes. So of course, being compared to Steve Urkel, that's why I kind of leaned into it with the avatar and everything. If you're, a nerd, and people just appreciate that. But so anyways, once I got on the stream, then Jay invited me on. We started talking a little more, and Jay invited me, and then he just kept inviting me. And the first show I was on, I gave him the run sheet. I was like, okay, Jay, so here's everything that's come out this week that I've seen by manufacturer. This is stuff from SHF, this is from Hasbro, this is from Mattel. And his response message was, whoa, like, and this was like Wednesday, where he's not even thinking about the show until like Sunday morning. Like he wakes up, he's like, all right, what are we going to talk about? Or me, I'm like, hey, I want to make sure I'm doing the research, getting some background on the figures. So I gave him the run sheet, and his first comment or reply back was like, if you keep doing this, I'm going to have to put you on payroll. Like, you're going to force me to put you on payroll. And so And so he just kept having me back on, and we just kind of vibed, right? It's one of the things I've always liked about Geek Dad Live, and Geek Dad Life, and the channel that he kind of, and the brand that he's built, is it is very welcoming. It's kind of loose flowing. They're not really gatekeepy. Like, yeah, we'll joke about things here and there, but it's a pretty good vibe in there. And it stays
I
relatively positive, not trying to beef with anybody. In fact, they lost subscribers when they were fake beefing, when Jay was fake
that was
beefing with
and I
yes,
remember that. And
yeah,
I talked to somebody who's in
yeah.
the chat right now, and I go,
Mhm.
that was a bad move because
Yeah, but
it,
it was they kind of like, if you watched regularly,
yeah,
you can kind of see they were hinting around about it and joking about it. And it was kind of, I thought it was funny in the culmination on Steve Harvey. But I understand some people took it a different way. They're not interested in doing that again. Jay's even kind of joked. He's like, all right, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
I've
But
had people bring up like, hey, we should set a fake beef, and I'm like,
yeah.
I can beef enough with people I don't like in real life. I don't need to make shit up.
You're like, there's too many people I really don't like that I
Yeah.
want to go off on to fake beef with you. I like
I actually said, I've never really talked to Jay. I mean, I messaged him a few times and asked him a couple questions. He always hit me back.
yeah.
But when the whole thing came out where, and I don't have a problem saying people's names, but Analog Toys had done that whole thing about all the people that were the Mattel shills and everything.
Oh.
And I
Yeah.
told them, I remember sending him a message and I said, the way you guys handle it was awesome. You never once said his name. I watched the chat, and the way they made jokes, I thought was absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
Because they just went through and they made little jabs about someone who against a whole group of people that attacked them. And I was like, you did it wonderfully. Like, you took your little jabs in jest, making jokes about it. And I know why he doesn't like you guys. Because he's friends with Retro Blasting, and Retro Blasting feels that they sided with
Spectre Creative,
Spectre
or
Creative.
yeah.
And I will watch that episode a couple of times a year,
Mhm.
because to watch
Just to see,
them,
yeah.
to watch Spectre Creative not care other than to make Retro Blasting mad. That's the only thing he wanted to do. And he did a marvelous job. And then to go to the after party over on Toy Anxiety and seeing John go, I don't know what just happened. And
the shell shocked of so that was real beef. They were like, we don't, and they were just facilitating. And I don't understand how it came across if they were on one side or another. I think, but like John and Jay were both kind of like, what is going on? Like, as you're watching it, like just looking at their faces, it's pretty funny.
I've listened to them numerous times, and I go, they pretty much both said like, that was not what we expected. Like, this was to be like a friendly debate. We thought they were completely wrong, but I will still go back and watch it a couple times a year because it is so awesome.
Yeah,
because to watch two people feel that uncomfortable on camera, you're not even in the same room.
Yeah, but what that did was it did expose me to, how they handled it. And like you said, just the way that they handled it as far as hosting, and then me learning a little more about the channel. I mean, that's what got my eyes there. Well, it was Hatter on the after show too. Because I got into Mad Hatter reviews during the pandemic, like, because as I mentioned, like I really started, Ninja Turtles has been my main thing, and I was collecting NECA Ninja Turtles, and so that was really one of the big things he did after he was doing Funko Pops for a little bit. But yeah, so Jay is real laid back. He's real cool, real easygoing. I don't understand how people beef with folks like that. Again, your vibe attracts your tribe. I'm the same way. The whole time we were talking about, like earlier, going through my time in high school and skating and different styles, it's just like, okay, I have my preferences, but I mean, who am I to think that my preferences are the best? They're good for me. I like them for me, but hey, do your own thing. Whatever floats your boat finds your lost remote. And that's kind of the vibe that Jay's got, that toys are fun. They're supposed to be fun. Like, even even when we were talking tariffs earlier this year, which there was, I am so glad we're at where we're at now. I get it. Like toys are still getting a little pricey and a couple places still have tariff surcharges. Are they on? Are they off? Not to go too much down that rabbit hole, but there was a little while there. There was like a month, like 3 to 4 weeks where it was just like, there are no toy announcements. What are we going to talk about? I really don't want to talk about. I want to talk about toys. I don't want to talk about the taxes on toys.
Operation Monster Force and a few other ones, or Fresh Monkey Fiction, actually said these should be done here, but they're going to stay in China until this tariff stuff is taken care of. Like they were actually like, hey, once this stuff is done, if this isn't taken care of, we're going to stay over. We're going to leave the stuff over there till we know what what it's going to cost. So
and that's fair from a business perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it was something real, and it was something that had to kind of be discussed. There's no way.
Yeah, it's like you can't. There's no way around. Like I know it's funny. So watching your take on it and watching other people's takes on, like the people who I watch were functionally like, okay, we don't know how this is going to go. We're not economists. We're not going to go we're not really going to go we're just talking about how, yeah, it sucks. These things are going to be more expensive, but in the meantime, what might you do? So that's how I got back into collecting the retro Playmates Toxic Crusaders, because I was thinking, okay, well, I was thinking of going here with my collection, but these toys are already here, at least the toys that I'm hunting for. They're in the States on eBay or Mercari or whatever, or at different toy stores locally where I'm just trying to track down. All right, well, cool. It's fine. There's still plenty of toys in the country already. Let me just pivot to collecting retro stuff versus waiting for a lot of the newer stuff to come out. And I got one. Actually, Attack Peter was so kind as to, I was talking about it on stream, and he had one that he was looking to get rid of as he was getting into Swamp Thing figures. And so he was like, he messaged Jay, and then Jay reached out. He was like, hey, Attack Peter wants to talk to you about getting a figure. And I was like, okay, cool. And so then I messaged Attack Peter, and he was like, yeah, I got this Toxic Crusader mint on card. If you want it, you can have it. And so getting that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely, that just kind of sealed the deal of he awoke the beast, where I've been hunting down one by one all the retro carded Toxic Crusaders again. Because those to me are like the quintessential like 90s line, like for 90s collect, like, because it kind of captures some of the gross out from the Garbage Pail Kids, but it also captures the height of Ninja Turtles because they're in the same kind of style, but they're a little more grotesque type deal. Like,
they're a lot more grotesque than Turtle.
Yeah, so just being so back in the time where there were boy and girl toys, like as far as a 90s boy toy that was brightly colored. Now, mind you, anybody collect anything you want. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
but
from the brands that used to be in the 90s. Yeah.
But there are I hate that people say there's boy and girl toys. It doesn't mean one's better or worse, but there are. I mean, there are girl aisles, there are boy aisles. Doesn't mean you can't shop on them. So, but
I just say what was marketed towards me.
Yeah.
Right. It's not to say that there aren't, women out there who have this awesome Mad Balls or Garbage Pail Kids card collection. Like they're way more into it than me. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm just saying, as far as what was marketed towards me in the 90s, brightly colored, black light reactive, just Toxic Crusaders really is that line, even though Ninja Turtles is kind of my main, but Toxic Crusaders is really what gets me excited. And what's crazy is how expensive they are now, because I had all 10 mint on card in a couple of vehicles in the early 2000s. And this is, again, another just collector regret of, I'm a man now. I'm a grown up. I need to I'll hold on to a couple figures, but not that I was ashamed and not that I was pressured by my wife to do so, but I did get rid of them. And I sold them for a song. I sold like the whole 10 unpunched mint on card. No, it was a 9-figure run for Toxic Crusaders and then a couple of vehicles. I sold them for like $150, which is like, that'll get you one figure now. And it's just unbelievable. Of course, Dr. Mind. Of course, it's the revolution isn't going to pay for itself. He's got medical bills to pay off. Dr. Mindbender.
He's still living in the past.
He's gonna catch up.
We talked about Dr. Mindbender like 15 minutes. I love that. I do love when you get those comments and people are like, you're like, dude, they're like a half hour behind and have no idea.
Yeah. So they'll catch up. But yeah, I forget. So I was just yapping away. But yeah.
No, yes, some of these things definitely shot up. I know the guy that sold me, he's a friend of mine. Probably 10 years ago. It was shortly after my ex and I split up. He sold me a bunch of G.I. Joe stuff for like $275. And back then, I added it up and it was worth about $1,000. But he wanted to get, because he knew I wasn't going to sell it, and I haven't.
Yeah.
And this stuff, I mean, when I looked at it, I swear it was in like mint condition. And I go, why is this in such good condition? He goes, I think that I got this right when I got out of like playing with toys, and my mom just packed it up. And
Oh, wow.
it was in a smoky house, but there was no smoke damage or anything to it. There was all these figures. I think I bought like 9 different vehicles, a complete whale, a complete whale, a complete mauler, a complete
Whoa.
hydrofoil, a complete tactical battle platform, Skyhawk. There were a couple of things. The only thing that he kept was the Awe Striker. It was like $275, I think he sold, and a bunch of figures, including a version 2 Snake Eyes, which I had just bought one, and then I had 2 of them. Finally, I sold one for like $100. So I'm like, oh, that was 1/3 of 1/3 of it right there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way when I sell my toys. I mean, sometimes I won't sell them for a song. Like if I know there's somebody who's mentioned, hey, they're hunting something on a toy Discord, in the GDL Discord, or wherever. I'm also on Toy Enablers and Toy Migos. But if somebody's hunting for something and I got it and I look at it one day and I'm just like, you know what? I don't need this anymore. I'll sell it cheap because I like knowing that there's a collector out there who's like, oh my goodness, this is hard to find. I'm not trying to scalp. It's like, hey, this is what I bought it for at cost, whether it was MSRP or whether it was aftermarket. You pay for shipping, it's yours. I'll often go like 30% below what it's going for on eBay, just because eBay is going to take 15%. So I figure, all right, if it's helping like collectors helping collectors, if eBay is going to take 15%, then I'm cool giving another 15% off of that. I'd rather the money. There you go. He's all caught up. Awesome. I'd rather the money stay in or go towards or stay in the pocket of another collector than just go to eBay. So, hey, if we can handle it through PayPal, goods and services, whatever, it's no big deal. I've sold a lot of figures that way. Again, super cheap, where it's like on eBay, maybe it would sit for a while. Maybe it would go for $1,000, like this big. Like I sold a bunch of my NECA Ninja Turtles off to a guy in Canada. I'm not gonna put him on blast, but because I don't know if he wants his business out there. But I sold it super cheap. I was just like, hey man, if you want it for this, and he was like, well, what are you thinking? And when I gave him the price, he was like, oh yeah, I'll take it all. Like he was like, that's a good price. I will take it all. I was like, yep, I just want it gone. It's just sitting in a corner. It's taking up space in my house or in the display. I just want it gone. So you're basically like, you're doing me a solid by helping me get it out of the house. And I get a little bit of money in my pocket, which is going towards this other thing, which really all I want is this other thing. And if I could do a toy exchange program for, all right, I'll give you these toys for that toy, right? Which we can do one-on-one, but like from a business or then I would do that. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing, only okay, if I want this one thing that's $300, could I get a G for it? Maybe, but it's really I just want that one thing. So cool. You take it for I only paid close to $300 for it, right? On the shelves. So just because it shot up or was hard to find doesn't mean I should try and take advantage of other people who are hunting for it. That's just not my makeup. It's like, all right, cool. This is what I paid for it. This is what you can pay for it. And now I can buy that other thing. So cool.
And there's a lot of people that are in a different position that they financially, they're like, hey, this is how I have to do it to keep collecting.
And that's
but
fair.
There's a guy, Johnny Reno, and he lives in Arizona, and I met him through Tony's Figs. And we've become pretty good friends, and he has all this stuff in his storage unit that he's like, hey, what do you need for these retros that you're doing, these classic videos? And he's just like, I'm like, well, how much do you want? He's like, no, I just want to get rid of it. And he's telling me, he's like, I have this, and that. He's like, I'm going to send you this. Send me a list. And he sent me so much stuff to help complete or come closer to completing some of these figures and vehicles.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want anything. He's just like, hey, you know what? I want it to go to you because I know you're going to take care of it and you want it, and there's a lot of people that are like that because there are a lot of good people in this community there's a lot of people that aren't, but I think that's in any community, right?
Exactly. So you just try to, build it up, and just kind of encourage the hobby. Because to your point too, and I've never really thought about that. So I am very thankful and humbled to be in the place financially to where it's not going to be a hit for me to not get as much out of these figures as possible, right? Where there are some people who are struggling out there, and who it's kind of a self-sustaining hobby of the way that they do it is through buying and selling their figures. So again, I respect it. I don't want to come across or sound like I was trying to down anybody because
No,
trust me,
no,
I've
you
sold
weren't.
some things on eBay that it's like I'll post it for the going price, and it's one of those things of, you know what, reissues happen. If somebody's going to pay that and they're happy to pay it, I'll leave it there, and those things have sold. And then a year later, hey, we're getting a reissue of this figure, and I go, okay, cool. So I just made $80. Like, I sold it for $100 higher than it was. I made $80. Let me go back and buy that figure again now that it's been re-released.
When the first Cobra Viper dropped, the Cobra Island,
Yeah.
I got 3 of them day one. And I was sitting downstairs at the table. My son comes down. He comes down, waking up, and he's looking at it. And he goes, "How many did you get?" I go, 3. I'm thinking if I should sell one. And he goes, "How much are they going for?" And I looked and I go, "Well, they're selling for about 80 or 90. He goes, "How much you
Wow.
paid for it?" I go, 20. He goes, you should sell one. So I think I put it up there for like 20, 25, $30 to start. It sold for, I think, $90. If someone would have bought it for 30, they would have got it for 30.
Exactly.
They bid up, and at the end, my son said, "So you paid for everything? You bought the 2 figures for free."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
you
was-
still got a little bit of money. Yeah.
And that was before I was like doing YouTube.
Mhm.
Now YouTube is what, if I'm not doing YouTube
Mhm.
and all the reviews, I can't afford everything that I'm collecting.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. And I don't make any bones about it. I let people know, like, hey, I'm one of the lucky ones. I flat out tell them I'm one of the lucky ones. I found a way to make this weird hobby that I started.
Yeah.
Not start, but what weird hobby I got into
Mhm.
on YouTube work for me. And
But
that's why
you're putting in the work though too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know I mentioned that the filming other videos is harder than live streaming, but even the prep for live streaming, right? It's a time commitment. There's a lot that you're putting in there for entertainment, that it's cool that you're able to see that return on investment by being able to purchase different
sitting
figures.
down and even what I do,
Yeah.
the little bit of editing that I do and how I do it, it is time consuming.
Yep.
And it is frustrating. And I had someone on here and we got done talking and he goes, "Does it bother you when people just say this is easy?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "When people just say, oh, all you do is you hit the live button." And I go, "It doesn't really bother me, but they're wrong." And he said, "Exactly."
Yeah.
He said, and I say this all the time. I go, no one knows how much time I spend in this chair creating my shows. No one knows how much time, editing stuff or do whatever. At the same time, they don't care, right? Just like we don't care how much work Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds put into making Deadpool and Wolverine. We just wanted to be entertained.
Yep.
So, and I fully understand that, and that's why I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm lucky enough that I'm able to support my hobby through YouTube and Amazon affiliates. So this is why anyone that I know that is doing it, if they want to ask me questions, I'm like, I will give you every answer that I know. Because
that's awesome. Yeah.
And because maybe I struggled for a year to figure something out. Why should I watch my friends struggle too? Just because I did. Why can't I be like, hey, I was doing this for like a year. Why don't you try this? Or this what? Hey, do this, and it will help you. Like, I hate the gatekeeping.
No, and then even what's cool. So I mean, you even saying that you're sharing the secrets with your friends, things like that. That's one thing. Say what you want about the quality of the films and whether you're a fan or not, but that's one of the cool things that Adam Sandler has done, right? That Adam Sandler going to the same people, like, this is my crew, these are the people who I'm helping out, I'm getting, and he gets hate for that, like, oh, he's just doing this, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, if you had friends who were into acting and you were an actor who was successful and had the opportunity to cast said friends, Like, I'm not going to hate on Rob Zombie for casting his wife, because you know what? If I was a director directing movies and my wife was an actress, guess who's going to be in every single one of the movies I direct, right? It's just like, why, if you're friends, if you and you have these opportunities to be able to help other people, like, rather than gatekeep and say, well, I struggled, so you got to struggle too, and you're going to learn through the struggle. It's like, well, no, you're still going to struggle, but maybe if I can make your struggle a little easier, if I can
Exactly.
help you. Same thing with skating, though. It's the same skating mentality of, yeah, I grinded, pun intended, of trying to get this tray flip down to this kick flip or this tail flip or this nose slide, this tail slide, this front side, board slide or whatever, right? You're trying to get this trick and you see somebody else struggling and they're struggling the same way you struggle. You're like, okay, I see exactly what they're doing wrong. You're going to go, you know what? I'm going to leave them to figure it out. No, you might say, hey, do you want some help? Or if they ask you, hey, man, I just can't do this. I've been trying to do it. Do you have any tips for me? Absolutely. Like that. And that's part of the culture too. Like even when you go to parks, at least now, like I know when you talk about like learning about the different eras of skateboarding, now what I see is like if you've got OGs in the park, they're not really gatekeeping, like, no, you can't skate this bowl. No, you can't go over here. This is our territory. You got to wait your turn. You got to earn your stripes in order to be able to skate here. They're just like, okay, kid, yeah, if you want to learn, well, first of all, thanks for not being on a scooter. Second of all,
See,
second of all,
you
cool,
do judge. See, you do judge.
but if they're like, hey, cool, you're not on a scooter, like I'll teach you and I'll show you and do this and lean back. And like the older people are helping the kids like push it to where they've gone now, and then the kids take it and make it their own and do all sorts of gnarly stuff. So it's the same thing though, that same skater mentality that's in you in order to, all right, you grinded and you're going to want to help other people. That's the same thing that you're doing with Fruit Boots judging. I bladed. I did aggressive inline for a while, so I can make the joke about Fruit Boots.
I never heard fruit booting till my friend said it. Years like when I came back into skating, but he was a rollerblader.
Yeah,
and he would call himself fruit booters, and I was like, I've never heard that. Like we just said, you bunch of assholes.
Yeah, it's like, but again, it was never a territorial thing. At least with me, a bunch of people were into a bunch of different things. I mean, Rocket Power was a popular Nickelodeon cartoon too. So I mean, it was more. We all had our own skateboards, BMXs, and rollerblades. And it was just like, hey, what are we doing? And then even at that time in the 90s, 2000s, I mean, there was even the extreme yo-yos with the bearings in them that we got into. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was big into yo-yo. We were into anything that was extreme, right? That had the X, but it was X extreme.
Yo-yo, that's extreme. All right. Yeah, that carpal tunnel syndrome.
Oh man, my wrist. Yeah, but I mean, after you're jumping off of things and jumping around, and it's like if it's too hot outside, you know what? We're gonna play video games, and maybe we do some yo-yo tricks. That's all. That's it, man. Yeah.
No, again, I'm with you. Like I said, like I don't have no problem. Like my goal, and I'll say this, you know, I'll say this to the last day I do something on YouTube. My job will never be to make someone not watch you. My job is to make you want to watch me. Exactly. And if that means, hey, you know what? Geek Dad Life is on at the exact same time as Punk with Toys, and I'm going to jump over to Punk with Toys. It's like watching him live, and I'll go back to watch. Or you're like, hey, I like this show better, but I still like him. I'm going to go back and watch him. That, you know, that's, again, it's not the 80s where it's like we either got to watch Family Ties or Growing Pains because they're on at the same time. And I don't know if they were. That's what I keep using.
Now that song's stuck in my head. Show me that smile again. But no, exactly. It's kind of like the cool thing about toy tubing, or at least what I found, is it's kind of like you find your niche, right? Me, so I'm into Ninja Turtles, but I'm just a fan of all toys to one degree or another, right? This show has better word pronunciation. But like if you're big into classified, so cool. So be about classified. That's one thing that it's like the authenticity shines through. It's like, what are you into? It again kind of goes back to the skating analogy of, well, what is your style, right? What are you doing? Are you goofy footed? Are you regular footed? Like what's your pushing? Do you push Mongo, right? Or
please don't say you push Mongo.
No, I don't push Mongo. I've taught my daughter how to push regular too. But
And
sometimes it's just fun. I started off Mongo footed. That's where
and
it was.
you learn not to.
I learned not to, but I did. I started Mongo footed, and then you just kind of learn how to push the other, or
Mhm.
sorry, yeah, pushing Mongo style. Anyways,
Pushing Switch Mongo is okay if you're older, because I'm never gonna learn how to push Switch. It is just too difficult at this age.
I can push Switch, but okay, all right, that's fair.
Listen,
Yeah.
I didn't like no one in our generation. That's why you see like Mike
Nobody really
Carroll,
skated
all of
Switch a
those.
whole lot. Yeah, yeah.
It was called opposite foot
Oh, okay.
because
Opposite foot.
yeah, because there was no such thing as Switch. It was called opposite foot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like okay, but now everyone does it, and except for like Tiago, who pushes Switch Mongo. He's like the only one that's
Yeah, it's
all
just
the old pros do.
but back to the analogy though, of you using whatever it is you're into. If you're into classified, which or the different Joe reviews, like I've seen you do that, and it's cool. But then you'll also talk generally about stuff too. It's like you can zoom out to appreciate the whole sport of collecting or the whole sport,
Yeah.
but then you zoom in like on your one-on-one videos of but this is really what I'm into, and people appreciate it, right? You're not. I mean, there's something out there for everybody. I'm not going to knock anybody who goes to like other channels that I don't necessarily go to, because it's just not my style or not my vibe. But there's a place, there's a niche for everybody, and as long as you can kind of respect that, I think it's fine. Like you said, you're not really in competition because there's so many different live streams going on. You can play it back at any point throughout the week. There's no need to have that mindset. There's room for everybody, to be perfectly fair. And so
No, and I know like when I started doing live streams, it's been 3 years now. I was like, and Matthew, he wasn't my moderator yet. I talked to him a lot about it, and I go, whatever I do, I want to make sure it's consistent. And I didn't want to go on Sundays or Tuesdays because, Geek Dad Life was a juggernaut, and then you had Toy Anxiety, and I liked both of those. I'm like, those shows don't make, like, those days don't make sense because you're trying to build an audience, and it is harder to build an audience, obviously, when there's two big toy shows going on.
Yeah.
I had been doing the reviews, so I had kind of a built-in audience. I didn't want to do Fridays because Fridays can be kind of weird. Fridays and Saturdays can be, people like to go out.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It's weird. You're fighting that. Yeah.
Wednesdays we skated, so that left me with Mondays and Thursdays. So I went with Mondays, and then later on, Thursday became a day that I started doing other shows. So, and then I do a lot of other shows too now. But this is what happens when you've been single for so long. You can do this. Like, you can justify it.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's I appreciate it, because that's another big thing too. Whenever people are, I don't know, overly, I won't say, I guess for lack of a better term, entitled, right? Not realizing that what you are putting out, like what your product is that you're putting out, it's free. They don't have to pay for it. If you don't like this show, this is not an airport. You don't need to announce your departure. You can just go, right? It's kind of like I'm doing this because it's a hobby that I enjoy. Like, speaking on your behalf, like, you're doing this because this is what you enjoy. These are your opinions. Everybody's entitled to their opinions, and that's fine. Feel free to make a video if you disagree, right? But just that there is something to the I won't say like the parasocial component of people feeling like entitled to different aspects of like almost controlling your content, when you're like, no, this is still my channel. Like, I'm still I get to control things, right? It's yes, share by all means, comment, because that's still going to help with the algorithm. It's still engagement. Engagement is engagement, right?
Even the people that give the thumbs down.
Exactly.
It's always the funnest. That's always the fun stuff when I look. When I have something scheduled, like my Monday show, I have it scheduled, and I see I already have a thumbs down. I'm like, I haven't even done it yet. You've already thumbs down.
I don't like the thumbnail. Okay. All right. Everybody or everyone isn't for everybody. Big picture.
Exactly.
But you know what? If there is a stream and there's room for people anywhere within the hobby, there are other people that are covering Joe's If you want something that's more informative, more in depth, you mentioned earlier, Toy Connections. Ken, he's awesome. He's awesome at doing super deep dives, whether it's Transformers, wrestling.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just his style. Like, I appreciate his style because, again, nerd. So it's like, oh, I learned something new about history. I didn't know a whole lot about Transformers, and then to prep for the last show, because there was a live stream, I did a deeper dive, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, learning about the lore. Like, I would kind of joke on Transformers collectors, and there are 8 million different lines and
I
scales, and
wouldn't-
they always do the big four of Megatron,
Yeah.
Optimus, Bumblebee, and Starscream, and then they go, all right, and that line's over, and we're gonna do another line, and guess who we're starting with? Like, they always do the same ones, but
I
there's
wouldn't even
some
want
pretty
to
cool stuff out there.
imagine being a Transformer. And I've said this numerous times. I'm like, there's
Yeah.
so many different lines, so
There
many
is.
different
Yeah.
knockoffs, and so much of it looks good.
That's what I was going to say too, is that the thing about even Transformers, when you talk about like the third party figures, which other IPs are starting to really, I say starting, the last couple of years, other IPs have really blown up for like third party offerings that still fit right in, right, with your regular collections. But Transformers, you are 100% spot on with where to even begin. It is like analysis paralysis, at least for me, because like I said, if I'm going to start on something, I need an exit strategy. I need to know, like, I write it, I will legitimately type it out. Okay, these are the figures that I'm hoping they do. These are the ones I'm going to pick up, or these variants. Here's how I'm going to limit it so that I don't get too swept away to where I don't know, like, I have no direction for my collection. That's just how I collect.
You have no
Yeah.
you have no eject button.
Yeah, I need to be able to. All
You
right,
don't-
cool. This is the time to punch out.
Yeah,
Boom,
you
and I'm
want to
done.
be Maverick, not Goose when you eject.
Whew. Yes, I do not want to be Goose.
You don't want to hit the canopy when you.
That's rough. That's rough.
So let me ask you this quickly, and now you said an hour and a half. We've gone 3 hours.
I know. I'm a yapper. See earlier in the conversation.
Well,
But I think
so
we're
am I.
good if we do.
And
wrap it
I've
up
had so
soon.
many
Yeah.
people that have done this, and then they're like, "I didn't even realize it's been this long."
Yeah.
Because we're just talking. I'm not grilling you with question after question.
Exactly.
But you're doing Geek Dad Life, or Geek Dad
Mhm.
Live.
Mhm.
Do you have any intentions on doing your own stuff? Because I know you did the thing for May the Power of the Force,
Which was
had
fun.
a wonderful story. I just imagine a mom being like, "Who is this? Like, what?"
Is that Darth Vader? Is that? Yeah, just asking questions all through the movie, and you're just like,
The
let's
whole
find
time
out
I'm like,
together.
"How can your mom not know who Darth Vader is?"
Well,
But I don't think my dad would know.
and that's what I was gonna say is, like, we're the generation where it's like nerdy things are cooler, right? And so it's like, how do you just not know? It's a big part of pop culture. And so she was aware of the character in the black helmet, deep voice, James Earl Jones, but none of the characters sounded like James Earl Jones, right? So it was just like, okay. She just didn't know who the character was going to be in episode 1. So that's why she just kept asking. It's like, I know something and I need to know it immediately. So like, let's just keep watching and find out. Unlike my daughter, who, like, even before we started watching the Lego games, like, ruined I won't say ruined it. She just learned about it through the Lego games, where she was like, oh yeah, I know how this happens. And, oh yeah, yeah, Luke that's the kid. Luke
But
and Leia are the twins. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, I don't care how old you are. It's hard to say, yeah, I was ruined by the prequels and knowing who Darth Vader was. It's very well known. I mean, it's just, in my opinion, it is the most popular saga of all time.
Yeah. Most popular or spoiled twist. So many different pop culture references to I am your father. I mean, it's just there. People know it, and it doesn't make it any less worthwhile. Like, it's cool, and I respect people who will try and, like, shield their kid from it, or say, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start when they're like 4 years old, and we're gonna introduce them, and we're gonna do the 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3, then 7, 8, 9, and that's cool. And you know what? Whatever floats your boat finds your lost remote. But I'm not devaluing my daughter's journey through Star Wars. And this conversation my wife and I have had too. And she's not either. where we're both just kind of like, well, you know what? We gave our daughter the choice. Which order would you like to watch these in? Because we're going to go through these as a family. Like, which sounds more appealing to you? Which makes more sense to you? And well, if we have all the episodes, then let's just start with episode 1, which kind of makes sense. We didn't have that option as kids. So, I'm not going to force you. Need to experience everything the way I experienced it at the exact same age. So you are going to sit down and watch Terminator 2 when you are 4. No. And I just bring that up because it's like our parents were wild, like as far as what we were allowed to watch and what we do with kids now.
But that's how I would do it too. Like,
yeah,
when Olivia and I started watching Buffy and Angel, we started watching Buffy, and then I was like, and I until Angel leaves, I know it doesn't matter what order, you're just watching them. And then when we got to the point that Angel show was starting, I printed up a sheet that tells you how to watch it in chronological order.
Yeah,
because there's certain episodes that if you don't see, you're gonna be like, whoa, wait, what the hell is going on here? So that's how we watch it. We have it downstairs. She highlights them. Well, I take it back. She was highlighting them until she told me, I don't know, when she was over last week, and she goes, "Oh yeah, the highlighter is at Mom's." How the hell did the highlighter get to Mom's?
It was in her pocket. She accidentally put it in a purse. Something where she got there. She's like,
she marks. Yeah, she marks everything, and we watch them in order. And there's even been a couple of these where Angel was not terrible. Angel is actually better than Buffy. Allison, you make me mad.
Those shows were big at the time.
Oh, I loved them. But like, she wants to sit down, and I'm like, hopefully we finish this before you go to college, because there's a lot of episodes, and when she doesn't live with you and I'm doing other things too, you're like, but she wants to watch them. But it's funny because there's sometimes where she wants to watch them in chronological order too, but something big happens in one of the shows, and she really wants to watch the next one, but she's looking at it and she's like, we got to watch 2 episodes of Angel. And I'm like, you really want to know what happens.
Yeah. Buffy is another show we need to go back and watch. One show that we started with my daughter, which is just good, that I didn't watch as a kid.
Do you mind me asking how old your daughter is? I don't know if
she is, let me think. She's 9.
Okay. There are some things in Buffy and Angel as it goes on.
Yeah.
They're pretty adult. And
I would wait for that.
My daughter's she's 16. Let's just say there's a lot of sexual parts. And okay, she's watched like Orange is the New Black with her mom and stuff. I still don't like being in the room when even my daughter's like, okay, they can get past
fast forward. Skip. Yeah. It's funny because we were telling my sister-in-law what a good movie Sinners was, and our niece is about the same age as your daughter, like 16ish, and we were like, there are definitely parts you're going to want to skip, so just be prepared with the remote. Like, don't watch it with the remote across I was like, there are definitely going to be parts you're going to want to skip, but overall it's a good movie. Watch it. It's neat, and she's old enough to try and process, or to not try, but to basically process some of the information. But what I was going to say is, like, an older show that I started watching, or that we started watching, and that we need to go back to watch, which is really positive and like really good, that I never watched as a kid, because again, this was a girls show when I was growing up. But Blossom, I was like, wow, Blossom is really dealing with some complex emotions and situations of a young girl in like middle school time frame, that it's like, my daughter's, so she's 9, so she's got a couple years before middle school, but it's a good show to watch as a family, and then to talk about some of the situations that come up of, well, what do you think about this, and how would you process that we've watched a couple episodes with my daughter, and she's just like, yeah, this is cool. So anybody who's got a young girl dads, or even boy dads, right? If you want to introduce them to different concepts, but particularly as far as different storylines about some of the hardships of little girls just growing up and maturing and things, I was like, Blossom is really good. Like, we've had some really good family conversations after an episode of Blossom, and it was on Hulu last time I checked. I don't know if it's still up there now, but yeah,
I think it is, because it's on it was ABC.
Yeah.
There's a few, I forget, we watched a few things like older stuff. She would like Olivia loves watching that stuff, but we watch like some of the newer stuff. So she's never watched Full House, but we watch all of Fuller House.
Okay.
And what's
Yeah.
funny is that just today, it was like one of those commercials, and it showed one of the Olsen twins saying, "Okay, dude," and I go, "There's two of them," "There's two of them, and neither one of them could even come back for a cameo." And she went, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, Fuller House, that was a younger sister. They were twins. They couldn't even come back for a cameo.
And they'd make like references to her. Oh, she's here, or she's there, or she's too busy, and like it's kind of like tongue in cheek of the Olsen twins or Michelle not showing up. But yeah, it's funny. So when Fuller House was popular, so my daughter, my daughter has seen a couple episodes of Fuller House. But when that was out and like brand new, our nieces who are a little older were watching Fuller House, and it's funny because they were trying to explain to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law like what. Oh, so did you know there's a show before Fuller House and it was called Full House, and like the grown-ups in Fuller House were kids, and of course not to to a kid you just go, okay, well, tell us more. Yeah. Oh, really? Like you're encouraging their curiosity because they were still kind of like young. And one of the worst things you could do is kind of, try and stomp all over a kid's excitedness. If they're excited to share something with you and you already know it, I'm personally of the mindset of just let them share. Just like, because you're going to be that old man who's telling them the same story over again about how, there was this one time in high school, and when they smile and nod at you and just go, thanks, Dad. This is the 15th time you told me that story.
But with Fuller House,
yeah,
if they do give you attitude like that, when you say, hey, there was another show called Full House before this, and they give you an attitude and say, oh, yeah, of course they did, and you say, well, do you know why they called it Fuller House?
Yeah,
they're gonna say, well, because now it's a Fuller House. No. That's because her husband that passed away, her last name is Fuller.
Yeah.
So they're playing on words. So don't be a smart ass to me.
So there are some times where I'll match energies. Again, like I said, like my daughter's sense of humor, like she's sharpening it. So there's some times where we will have a battle of the wits. But ultimately it's still fun, and it's cool to just share something with the kids. Like we've watched all the way through. She's at the point now where she's really enjoying watching Deep Space Nine with us. Okay. So we'll skip over like some of the heavier episodes, like here and there. But for the most part, like she'll watch it, she'll ask questions. Like she's excited about watching Star Trek, where before there were a couple episodes, like I'm trying to think of the episode where they all got turned into kids in Next Gen, that we'd watch with her because she's like, okay, she gets to see all the characters as kids. She's a kid. She like loved that episode. But now she's just starting to watch that, and we've watched through all of Family Matters, which was good.
Okay.
That I forced her to. I don't care if she wanted to. I was like, you're gonna watch Family. No, I'm joking. She enjoyed Family Matters.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Are there any shows, the older shows, you started watching, and then you started watching, and then you're like, oh, this is really bad, but like you started it?
Mm-hmm.
So Buffy was like that. The first season of Buffy is really a hard watch. But I remember like you haven't seen it? Did you say you haven't seen it?
Wait, no, I haven't seen all of Buffy. I've seen different episodes of Buffy. Like I remember when it was real popular on the WB before they merged and turned into the CW. So
when Angel becomes Angelus, that's when it gets really good. Okay. But that's at the end of season 3. And I remember watching we were watching the first season. I'm like, this is so bad. And I'm like, and I didn't remember it being so bad, but I know how good it gets.
Okay.
And I was so worried. Power through it. Yeah, and I was so worried she was not going to. But then all of a sudden, she's the one coming to me wanting to watch the next episode. So I'm like, oh, this is good. But she'll be like, yeah, those first episodes were like, that one was really bad.
Yeah, and so just giving it time. The only show that we'll watch that started off good, that I stopped forcing my daughter to watch it because we were just joking about it, was during the pandemic particularly, was Ninja Turtles. So Ninja Turtles, the cartoon. So she loves the movies, Ninja Rap, whole 9 yards, like fantastic. She loves all the movies. But when we're watching the cartoon, she like after like season 2 and beyond, she's like, Dad, these are bad. And I'm like, I know. You don't have to keep watching it. It's fine. But we would switch things up where like we'd all pick a different show or cartoon to watch. We'd take turns on the TV of who gets to pick what for the family show. And anytime it was my turn, I'd say, you want to watch Ninja Turtles? And she'd just be like, Dad, no. So she's adopted my love for Back to the Future. In fact, oh, 2012, exactly. So that's the one that my daughter likes too, where she loves the 2012 iteration. We play the 2012 arcade game anytime we go to like the local arcade in our area. I'm always Donatello. She's always Michelangelo. That's just how it is, right? And same way when we play like Turtles in Time or Shredder's Revenge or whatever, like we have our characters. Like these are the people who we play. Even though I am dope with April. Like April has an awesome moveset in Shredder's Revenge. Anyways, I digress. She like loves 2012, and I can't even watch. Like I'll only watch like the first 5-part miniseries from Ninja Turtles now. Like I get it, the other episodes are out there, and I'll catch one here or there. If they drop a figure, I'll go like, ooh, maybe I remember that figure, or I don't remember that appearance, and I'll like go through my little DVD catalog and go, okay, cool, here's the episode. Let's watch the episode, see if I really like am nostalgic for it to determine if I want to pick up this figure or not. But for the most part, it's just the first 5 series. And I don't force her to. It's like, all right, well, if you're not into it, that's fine. But it's my turn on the TV, so I'm watching this thing or I'm watching that thing. Just like I'm not into Rescue Pups, but you'll watch like a 5-hour block of Rescue Pups or whatever. Yeah. So it's fun sharing things with her. In fact, the other day, another thing that she has thankfully taken to, which I would be more heartbroken about, is Back to the Future. And so she loves it so much so that the other day my wife was driving her to like camp, and my wife was at a stoplight and the light turned green, and apparently she didn't move fast enough for whoever was behind her, and they honked, and my daughter said, well, let's see if they could do 90. Like that kind of like that quote from back. She didn't say bastards. She didn't say, let's see if these bastards can do 90, but she was just like, punch on to show up. And I was like, so did you? Like, I was like, she was like, no, I'm driving safely. I was like, wow. If Dad was driving and my daughter quoted Back to the Future to me, I'm kind of obligated. But yeah, so she's fun. And the cool thing about Turtles too, it's just like we were talking about skating or Star Wars or whatever. It's a recurring theme of, it's cool that newer generations keep getting different iterations of the IPs that we love. Yeah. Like it's an expansion. It's a yes, and it's not saying 2012 didn't ruin my childhood. In fact, one of the coolest episodes is the crossover between TMNT 87 and 2012, especially because the voice of Raphael is the voice of Donatello in 2012. So it's funny because they're like, you sound weird. And it's like, guess who you're talking to, but it's the same voice actor, Rob Paulson, talking to himself. That episode. So it's fun and it's cool. And yes, she is a smart girl for picking Mikey. Mikey's fun to play. Mikey was everybody's favorite as a kid. Well, not everybody's favorite. It's kind of the general intro turtle. Like I'm a Donatello guy because
I've always been a Donatello guy.
But what about you? You Donatello? Okay, just because
I was cool. Donatello. I like
he was the one who always had the machine to save the day. He was the guy. Yeah. But it's cool sharing things with your daughter. And I'm excited for you to share Buffy and Angel. And that's just another show I need to add to the list of so much cool stuff out there. And it's cool that kids will pick up on whatever they're exposed to. So it's like, I'll try to expose her to all different types of music. Oh, Raphael, there's always one in the group. Well, we won't hold that against you. Raphael is probably the only turtle that it's like, Raphael is awesome as far as being the powerhouse. And I know a lot of the shenanigans that happen in movies and comics is because, well, Raphael has got a bad attitude, and then he does something where it leads to somebody getting captured or something, and then he's got to go, oh no, my temper put us in this rough spot, and now we need to come back together as a family. So it's like I can appreciate Raph for
there are some YouTubers that act like that over and over and over, and eventually you go, dude, you're just gonna do the same thing again.
And it's funny because growing up in a house with multiple siblings, multiple brothers, it's just kind of like, yeah, there's always the one. And if
Yeah.
you don't know who the one is, you're the one. It's always like, come on, bro. Like, we can't all just fall in line. Like, you just have to just stick out and do what. All right, man, do your thing. It's all good.
See, this is what happens. You get towards the end, you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is what's.
But no, it's cool. It's Raphael. He's a fun character to play as well, and that takes skill. If you're a Raphael player, like we're talking to who you play in the games, because it's like near term, I'll pick Raphael if I need a challenge, because Donatello, while he's my favorite character for multiple reasons, he is always the easiest to play in the games because he's got the furthest range. Like, he'll keep the bad guys away, like if you're playing the old arcade game or Turtles in Time. But Raphael, you need a little more skill to play. So it's like, all right, I've beaten this game so much, I need it a little harder. Let me crank up the difficulty and play with Raph.
Yeah, I always like Donatello. I mean, again, Turtles were like well after my time, but the concept of them is just really cool.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's always new iterations, just like there's always new iterations of Transformers. And I've said before, like, everyone talks about G.I. Joe, and it's like, if they don't come out with new media, it's going to die. And they're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And that's how most things are, right? Power Rangers, always new media, and for me, it's like when people talk about toys, I'm just like, Transformers are always going to be there, because do you know how hard it is to get a kid to want to buy a car? Not hard. Do you know how hard it is to get a kid to want to buy a robot? Not hard. Now it's a fucking robot that transforms into a car. Right?
Exactly.
Like, it ain't that hard, right?
And my daughter actually had, this is kind of funny to say, that the Transformers line or property or IP that I know the most about is Rescue Bots Academy. Only because that's what my daughter was big into. So I was like, okay, we got to get you these characters, that character. So it's Rescue Bots Academy is because I caught a couple of tail end of the 80s run. Like, I never really watched. I know enough about the clips. Like, I know, spoiler alert, Optimus Prime dies in the 86 movie. Like, I get it. But I never that movie was 86. I wasn't born until after that movie. But so I appreciated it, and I would catch a couple episodes here and there, so I would know somewhat about it. Just like we said earlier in the chat, like, I would catch reruns of things. Like, I was catching reruns of G.I. Joe and things like that, but I wasn't catching these things live, and they weren't at their peak. They were just about over the summit of their popularity, starting to go down. I had some G.I. Joe Extreme figures, now that I think about it. I did have the G.I. Joe Extreme, where they were kind of like the pre-posed McFarlane style, like that popular. Yeah, I had those, which I guess it had like the pumping action missile, which I was able to keep. Again, I can't make heads or tails of what my parents allowed me to keep and like throw away. It's like, so you can't have this handgun with Grifter, but you can have this giant ballistic missile with your G.I. Joe Extreme. I don't know.
So Thanos is watching Prime Guy as a kid, was like losing a father. Okay, so I saw it with Mike Spreet at the movie theater.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it like being traumatic.
So you said your daughter's a Stitch fan. My daughter's a huge Stitch fan too.
Yes.
And so we just watched the live action Lilo and Stitch. And there's a part of that movie where, I won't spoil it, I don't know who's going to watch it, but there's a part of that movie that I would say is maybe it's close to Optimus dying, because Stitch is popular with a lot of kids, like with the youth now, like super popular, where you're like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Like, what's going on? And when I tell you, children were bawling in the theater at this particular part. Like, I heard like all these children were crying. Somebody also just happened to be like cutting onions next to me. I don't know what was going on. I mean, my eyes were tearing up. I wasn't crying or anything though, because I'm a man. But yeah, my eyes were watering, and it's just like you hear people like sniffling. Like, as far as, there was one part where it was pretty intense in the live action Lilo and Stitch movie.
Is it in the original movie too?
No, it's not. It's not in the original movie. Like, there's just a part where it's like, oh wow, this is emotionally taxing right now.
I'm trying to think what part it is.
What'd you say?
I'm trying to think of what part you're talking about. Because I thought you were talking about when they're, again, this is in the original movie where she's taking him away and she's like, "Can I say goodbye?"
Oh, no. It's right before that part. In the live action movie. It's the part where they have the payoff for the fact that the older sister was like a professional surfer. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
where
yeah.
they like showed it earlier where they had the setup of the running. Yeah, it was
Oh.
that part where it's like where okay, that finally comes back into play where it's like they show her running with rocks underwater. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool that they made the sister, but how that paid off in the end. Yeah, it was that part where what's gonna happen? This is, and like, so in the cartoon, like there's no way that it's gonna happen in a
Yes.
movie called Lilo, but still you kind of feel like, oh, I'm engrossed and I'm invested in this story. This is really intense, and you just kind of, that logic part of your brain is shut down and you're just like, no, what's going on? Yeah.
Tasky. You heard it here, folks. It's Taz.
Oh, but no, it's a really good part of the movie. I like the new movie. Yeah.
I did too. I know there's a lot of people that didn't, and they saw it a certain way. And Matthew, please don't.
Yeah, well, I get that too, where there are all sorts of political implications and social implications as far as sensitivities with native and indigenous peoples and the state separating. Like, there's a whole history there, and I acknowledge that and I understand it. But objectively, one thing that I think the live action movie does that the cartoon movie, at least it didn't register to me, at least maybe it's because of when it came out and I was just a kid and I wasn't really sensitive to it, is in the Lilo and Stitch cartoon, I always feel like the sister is older. Like, the sister to me came across as being like mid-20s in the cartoon, which I now know logistically that's kind of weird. I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense that the sister is in her 20s, but Lilo is clearly like, I don't know, anywhere between 6 and 8. And but in the live action version, you're like clearly like, oh, she is like 18, and the sister's 18, 19, and Lilo's 6, so she's a little younger. They're trying to figure out college, and it's like, okay, well,
I see what
the
you're
state
saying.
took her, but technically she was with the neighbor, still like right there. Like, is it? Yeah.
There's a lot of people that, again, my son actually walked out. He hated it that much, and I was
That's
like,
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
But my daughter, she loved it. I enjoyed it. I had no issues with it. But I mean, I guess I understood some things that people were kind of pointing out, but I'm like,
yeah.
But if you look at it this way,
Yeah.
But I thought, the one thing that I did hear that some people, they said the girl that played Lilo was awesome.
Yes, that as far as capturing the emotions and really embodying like the character that came across on screen in the cartoon, I think the little girl was really. I'm always impressed by like kid actors who can tap into those things. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Just the fact that a kid that young can understand
exactly
how to act.
Yeah.
Because it's not just learning lines, it's actually acting.
Exactly.
I can't imagine at 6 or 7 or 8, like what would you want
having
me to
the
read,
attention
right?
span or the focus to even like follow or remember lines or focus, like understand the nuances of emotions that you're trying to convey. Yeah.
I hate Duke.
You hate Duke? Okay.
I did as a kid. I really liked the new retro one, but as a kid I didn't like him.
Who's your leader for G.I. Joe then? Because Duke is all I know as the, well,
it's
I would
General Hawk.
also, in my headcanon, Sergeant Slaughter was also kind of the leader.
It's
of
not
all the
Sergeant
Joes, too.
Slaughter because he turned his back on Hulk Hogan and the USA.
And
I told him that to his face 2 years in a row now.
As a kid, it was either Duke or Sergeant Slaughter for me in my headcanon. But what about you? Who was your leader? Are you Falcon guy?
It was General Hawk. I always,
Hawk,
in all honesty, I always went in the order of the file cards, like officers were in charge. And I actually
very regimented of you, yeah.
And to me, when it came to the sergeants and everything, Gung Ho was always I always had him promoted to the highest enlistment.
Okay.
So I did not like him. I did not like Duke, so I kept Duke down.
Fair enough.
But yeah, all those E7s and E8s, they all got promoted to E9.
Good for them.
But hey, you know what? They're toys. Like no one's gonna take them. You do what you want with it, right?
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can put anybody in charge of anything. You could make Matt Tracker from Mask the head of your GI Joe army if you really wanted to.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that like they got mad about Nemesis and Nemesis Enforcer being renamed Nemesis Immortal. And I actually had people on my review saying, "Oh, you called it Nemesis Immortal." I'm like, well, that's what the name of it is. I understand he's Nemesis Enforcer. They lost, they didn't trademark it, so they couldn't use it. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm doing a review. I'm going to call it what it's called because if someone's tuning in, that's what they're going to see. But you can
You're
call
gonna
it
be
whatever you
Googling
want.
that particular figure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. So sometimes, just like I told you about when kids come to you and tell you something that you already know, you just smile. Nerds enjoy nothing more than a good actually. And so sometimes you just let it ride. You just go, oh, okay, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for
My son,
educating me.
like my son last month, he says to me, he goes, when Darth Vader first showed up in Star Wars, was it that big of a deal? And I said, yeah, I mean, yeah. And he goes, no, but I mean, like when you first saw him like on screen, like I go, yeah, he's like this menacing character.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, but like when you're at the movie theater and he shows up and you first see him show up, like what is it? And I look at him, I go, how fucking old do you think I am? You know, he's gonna be 19. I'm like, I didn't see stuff. He goes, well, I go, I was born in 1975, 3 days before 76. It came out in 77. I didn't see it at the movie theater.
There was
didn't
one
realize it. Like, I'm like, not that old.
My daughter like will crack jokes like so she'll do it on purpose now, but when she was younger and we were looking at things and what was I like we were talking about X-Men, and so she was like aware of X-Men. She had seen like the 97 show and blah blah blah, but there was one point like we were at a comic book store and she was looking at like some of the old like giant size X-Men just reissues, different things like that, and she saw some of the old comic book art and she was like, Dad, did you like when this first came out? Like a similar question. And I was just like, how old? No, I wasn't even born yet when this first dropped. Or like, what did you like, Dad? What comic book characters did you like before X-Men? It's just like, no, X-Men were always around when I was born. Like what? And there was one point where she was really little. She's like, Dad, did y'all have cars when you were younger? Like, nope. We were cavemen. We had cars, but we used to have to run with our feet like the Flintstones. That's how old Dad is.
I've got the black and white TV, which I did have a black and white TV, but like color TV was around. Now it may be too. I mean, you may be too young for this. You said you were born in '87.
Yeah.
The movie Clueless.
No, I remember the movie Clueless in the '90s. Absolutely.
Okay. So we watched that. I love Clueless. Okay. I remember seeing it at the movie theater. Clueless is awesome. No matter how you look at it.
It's fun. I'm a huge Donald Faison fan, but yeah. But
to get the kids to once they start, what is a pager?
It's funny because we've had to explain that to our daughter, and I forget what we were watching some show with doctors, and they had a pager, and we had to explain the concept. So I'm with you. I'm tracking that.
I take my kids to school one day, and I have an analog phone because I fix copy machines, and copy machines sometimes have fax machines. So people call in and say, my fax doesn't work. I can't send or receive. You plug in this analog phone. You don't have a dial tone. What are you going to do? I'm going to do nothing. You don't have a dial tone. I don't fix your phone. You have to call them. But my kids get in my car. They're in the back seat. What's this, Dad? I go, it's a phone. What do you mean it's a phone? It has a cord on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, how does it work? I go, what do you mean? Now, and like my daughter's, I go, oh. I go, you know, I go, you know where the calendar is in the kitchen? Yeah. I go, your mom didn't want to patch over it, but if you move that, you'll see a big plug there. There
Yeah.
used to be phones that plugged into the wall, and then you would walk around with it. And my daughter's like, what? I'm like, cell phones weren't always a thing. There was
Nope.
also a thing called cordless phones, which they started off with these metal antennas, which always got bent because you
Mhm.
smack each other with them.
We were out and about, and we were at a museum, and it was in the restroom area. There was a payphone. And when I tell you what do you think the first thing I did was when I saw a payphone like on the wall? What's the first thing you do? Like, well, at least when you're a kid, what do you do with payphones when you
You
see
try and
them?
see if there's money in it.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, cool, payphone. Is there no? So then, like afterwards, because my wife took my daughter to the bathroom, I went to the bathroom, I saw it, and we came out. I was like, okay, this is an educational moment. It's funny because we're in a museum, but like this wasn't an exhibit. I was like, okay, so this is a payphone. So you remember how I told you we didn't always have phones? Like what you used to have to do is like call home, like if you're at the mall or something. Like there used to be a place called a phone bank where there was like a line of these. But then also, if you're a little kid and you're out someplace and you see a phone bank, what you do is you check, because if you would call and the call wouldn't connect, you'd get your quarter back because you didn't actually use the
Yeah.
phone call. But then people would forget. And so then you get it. Or if you didn't have a quarter, exactly, you want to 100 collect. And just like that commercial that Bob
Or
Out of Baby Eats a Boy, like you say, hey mom, I'm here, we're ready to get picked up, we'll meet you over here by the movies, like we'll meet you outside at this planner or whatever. And then you just hang up. Parents go, nope, we reject the call, and then they come get us, right? It's kind of like this is what you used to have to do before cell phones. Now you've got your Apple Watch where if anything goes wrong, you're like Dick Tracy or like a Power Ranger where you're just like boop, 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 boop. Hey, yeah, dad, come pick me up. Or like, hey, I'm here, practice finished early. But we didn't always have cell phones. And so you used to just be gone and disconnected. And yeah, it's a crazy world.
teachers in math class, you're not always going to have a calculator. Bullshit.
Yeah, now I have a calculator everywhere I go. Yeah,
The kids that had the calculator watches, I think I
Yeah.
had one too. Like you'd have to take
Casio.
it off.
Yeah.
You're not always gonna have a calculator.
They do
Oh,
that now
you wrong.
too. So like my daughter was taking a test, like I think it was a standardized test, and they were like, hey, if you have an Apple Watch or anything, you got to take it off because you can't be like searching things up or yeah. I am a toy collector. I mean, I don't have the cluttered background, but absolutely. I've got all sorts of toys. I don't know if you can see. Well, I guess you could see the
video.
anyways, I won't move it too much. I don't want to mess up the setup. But yes, I'm a toy collector. I collect NECA Ninja Turtles. I collect Toxic Crusaders. I've got a little bit of Marvel Legends. Yeah, I dip and dabble in everything. Got some Back to the Future stuff, but yeah, it's fun. I keep it tight. This is kind of my setup. I call it my nerd nook. And yeah, I'm into it. I need to get you. Oh, SH Figure Arts has some cool stuff.
Do I have any? No, I don't think I have any.
I might be in the market for a SH Figure Arts. I'm waiting. I usually wait until there are some in-hand reviews. Even if the figure sells out and it's hard to get and I pay a little more aftermarket, I'm so particular about the toys that I buy that I don't mind. Okay, I get it. Aftermarket, I might pay $30 more than what the figures cost. Fortunately, I'm in a position where that's not the end of the world. But I'm curious about that SHF Cyclops. It looks phenomenal. And it recently came out. To me, at least, I'm a big
We were
Marvel versus
looking at
Capcom
that
fan.
one, and it has
What'd you say?
some really. We were looking at that one on Monday, and it has some really weird.
It does, so, like in the crotchal region, and even
He's
in the butt
wearing a
cheeks, not
G-string.
completely connecting, and yeah,
He's
it's
wearing a
weird.
G-string.
But yeah,
He's wearing a G-string.
he is, and it's hey, you said you're a Shawn Michaels fan, and so Shawn Michaels, there are a couple of clips of him in the Attitude Era that shouldn't be a deal breaker for you. If you're a Shawn Michaels fan, a G-string should not push you away from collecting that SHF
No,
Cyclops.
no, no. I think it's just a weird look.
It is.
And,
It
and
is weird. I get it. I get it. I think
but there are
overall,
some Marvel Legends that look perfectly fine for $25. With
they
that said,
could. It
I
just
also
depends on
have
what you want and
yeah,
what you're a fan of. I think that's a really cool Cyclops. I think it captures the aesthetic from the game the best.
that's
Now,
what
are
somebody
there
said.
figures that will work? Absolutely. And it's all, your mileage may vary. So,
But I also have all the Mezco GI Joes, and
okay,
I do
cool.
reviews, and people go $120 for that. Do it, the classified one is 25. It's just as good. I can't argue with you. Like, hey,
Mhm.
like $100 for an action figure or more, that's a lot of money. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is.
even if you have the money to buy, right?
Mhm.
And when you look at a classified, and you're like, that $25 classified is good enough.
Mhm.
I can't argue with you because I like it. I have them both. You know,
Yeah.
there's but I understand, like, but I'm not like super into X-Men, but I do have. I'll just say that my Marvel Legends is it's going pretty.
So this again though is where I'm like, okay, I need to see where that line is going. I need to see the in-hand reviews. I'm a big Cyclops fan. I love
Okay,
that people are actually
so
starting to put respect on his name. So it's kind of like, okay, this character looks really good, but I have the Cyclops in the VHS box right now, which okay, going rate for it on eBay is like, I don't know, it'll go for 50 or 60 depending. Because especially the X97 one is out now too. But do I sell it? Do I not sell it? Like I mentioned earlier, or if I do sell it, because I'm already kind of on the fence about selling that anyway. So if I do sell it, do I then get into the line and then slowly wait for them to build out the characters in Marvel versus Capcom? Where's the stopping point? Do I just stop at my three mains that are on the Marvel side of things? How do they scale with Storm Arena? I don't know. So all of these questions need to be answered before I just go, oh, let me just buy it and then figure it out later. Because I've done those impulse buys, and then you get it in hand and it's home, and you're just like, why am I like this? Like, why did I buy this figure that I don't like? Like, or I thought I wanted it, and then it doesn't really fit into your collection, and then you start to do the math of, well, if I buy this figure, if I buy the hero, I'm going to need the villain, and the villain has an entourage, but then the
that's
hero has an entourage, and then you're also going to, oh, they have play sets, and they have vehicles, and they have, this is classified, right? Oh.
that's what happened with this line.
You buy one figure and it's a gateway figure to
I I don't like Street Fighter. Like, Street Fighter was the thing that took all my friends away from skateboarding. That was me. And Jada came out with them, and I like the way they look, and I know the game because I spent more than enough time in an arcade watching friends play it
Yeah.
because I somehow got stuck with them. And everyone's like, you got to pick one up, and I finally picked one up, and then I gotta have another one. I mean, they got to fight, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, this one's just so damn good, and then you get another one, and next thing you know, I have not all of them, but I have one of at least every single character that's come out so far.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Like if you're not doing all of them, but
Yeah,
you're
I would
like
like
all the
to.
variants. Like you don't need all the variants. Like you could collect that
I
Street Fighter
want
line
them.
two ways. Get one of the main colorways, or for your favorite character for your main, get all
Yeah.
of the colorways. Right? Like that. Those are two different strategies that I've considered, like what you can do. But
It just, you have to start looking at that credit card going, all right, I know I have all this classified coming, so I need to keep a big gap here.
Yep.
Because I don't know when it's going to show up. So that's why I
That's
haven't
true
gone
too.
in on
If it
some of that.
pops up early or not, especially Hasbro, right? Oh, this drops in the fall or November. Psych, it's July. Charge it.
And when you order it from 3 different places.
And you got to race to like cancel. Oh, which one am I going to cancel? Yeah.
And I've been burned before. Now, again, as long as if Amazon sends it, you can always ship one of them back to Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
But if let's say Pulse and BBTS hit you up, you're like,
You're paying for return shipping or
Exactly.
restock fee or yeah.
Yeah,
Or
because
maybe there's a collector who missed out on it, who fell asleep at the wheel, who's like, "Oh, all these pre-orders were sold out, and does anybody have any extras?" And you're like, "Hey, yeah, I got one at cost. You just pay for the shipping, and it's yours." Yeah.
it does happen from time to time, but again, like I know the risk that I'm taking, so
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what,
Mhm.
it's been 3.5 hours.
Yes, I'm gonna need to wrap it up. I'm gonna need to go.
See how quickly it goes by, and
Exactly. It's good because we're just chopping it up. It's fun to just talk toys, and we're getting to know
yeah,
each other. It's fun. Thanks for having me. This has been really fun. Yeah.
no, it's great. And like I said, like when you were on and you started bringing up Bad Religion, and there was also another girl that I gotta get with Allison to get a hold of her, because I think they said the only social media she does is that blue
Blue
streak.
sky.
Blue Sky, that's it. I don't have it. I'm not getting another social media.
Yeah.
I already have some that I don't know how to use, and I'm like, I'm not getting
Yeah.
another one. And who the hell only has Blue Sky?
I only had Blue Sky for a little bit because I was just getting into things. Like I only have an IG just for things like this, where it's like, all right, people need to be able to get a hold of me, get at me. I need to start posting like small things here and there, pickups. Like I did I only have like 2 posts. One like, hey, I'm on IG, and the other one's like, hey, I got a Tony the Tiger and this or yeah.
And I don't even know who Blue Sky is. I don't even know who Blue Sky is. No, I'll tell you what. I have a lot of people that will comment on my like classified reviews saying, I love watching this from afar. Like I love, like I'm collecting this through you by watching it. I also get a lot of I hate you because now I'm buying.
It's your fault they lack self-control. I always use that, like in the toy discords, it's always a quote from Kindergarten Cop: "You kids are soft, you lack discipline." Right? Whenever somebody's like, "Oh, I just bought this figure that I don't even like, but I need it to like make sure I'm a completionist," like that sickness. Thankfully, I've kicked that completionist mindset of Marie Kondo, your collection, right? The joy of collecting. If that figure does not bring you joy, just let it go. Like it's fine.
I
let it go.
see a Stitch Funko Pop, and I order it for my daughter. And
that's cool.
And then at Christmas, because she found some, or I had actually ordered more, and she opened them up, and I was like, so after we opened everything up, because we used to do Christmas together, my ex comes over, we open everything up, and I watched her open, and ones that I had bought too. I was like, after Christmas, I went upstairs, pulled out a fucking box, and went, I bought 3 of these for. And I packed them away so she wouldn't see them. And then I see them pop up somewhere. I see them somewhere. Or there was another one that we were at Sergeant Red's and she wanted it. I'm like, nope, you can't get that one. And she's like, why? I'm like, you can't get that one. And she's like, why, Dad? I'm like, you just can't get it. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Like, it's exactly why.
Yeah, it's like, come on, just play the game. Play the game of, I got it for you. And Funko Pops are just fun. And Stitch is like the perfect character for that, right?
Except for
like,
that first one they did.
Except for the first one? Is the first one weird? I haven't seen it.
It looks nothing like Stitch.
Okay.
It's so bad.
I'll have to Google it. Okay.
I think it's the first one. I see it up there, and her and I will look at it, and I'm like, it looks nothing like Stitch. It's scary looking. I play with yes. I'm one of those people waiting for that FedEx notification, but
Mazel tov on the Rattler. That'll be good.
I can't wait. I mean, I have to. Yeah, I always seem to get my hat slabs like towards the end. So
okay.
Oh well, I mean, it's gonna come. I mean, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it.
That's because they know it's going to you, and you've been trashing. You haven't been saying you like all of their classified stuff. So anytime you have any criticisms, they go, oh yeah, tell us more. What's that name again? Lawrence? Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure there are other Lawrences out there who aren't getting their HasLabs immediately because of you. They just have a flag for Lawrence, and they're like, they get them last.
Well, good. At least I'm not the only one then. I can bring other people down. But anyway, Quip, I want to say thank you very much. I had a blast. Not all your links to your YouTube channel, which I have in there, and then also your Instagram channel, which you said you only pretty much use to throw some stuff out there.
Yeah, just a chat behind the scenes. I follow a lot of people, but I've been just like I've talked about, like collecting. Like if I start something, like I've had a couple of different ideas that I've cooked up that I've been talking with Jay about and a few other people on. Okay, whatever I do, like Gady's Toys is one. I know I chat with Derek, and I think I've talked with Rick a little bit too.
I have Gady's coming on in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. But I definitely, as far as me dialing in something small, I want to do it that it's really it's sustainable. I need to be consistent, so I need to be able to carve out time for it. And for the most part, I'm always a geek and I'm always a dad, and life is just lifing sometimes. So I get really busy. I enjoy live streaming. I enjoy, opportunities like this to chat with you, Brick, Allison, Troy. It's just fun. So I'm around. I'll be around. Again, Geek Dad Life is the channel, or at Geek Dad Life. So I know I'm at Scotty Quippen. You're not going to see the live streams there. You'll have to go to, at Geek Dad Life. And I'm actually looking for the link now to drop that in the chat. Actually, I don't even know if I could drop that in the chat, but it's fine. You can put it in the description.
It's not hard to find Geek Dad Life.
Yeah, Geek Dad Life. He's pretty popular. Again, I'm just jumping on. Jay's been really cool about and welcoming, and everybody's been really cool. I've been on Yes Have Some. It's just been fun to, kind of make that transition from the chat where you're watching along and you're chatting and things like that to just, okay, well, now instead of chatting in the chat, I'm chatting with you here. And so it's cool. Again, I'm very humbled and thankful for being welcomed onto your stream. You're doing great stuff. Keep up the great work, man.
No, and that's what I love doing this and talking with new people, because, there are other people that don't collect classified, that don't talk G.I. Joe, that are really good people. And we all have this weird sickness. And it is a sickness.
Absolutely.
But anyway, thank you very much. If we don't end it, I know I never will, because I can talk and talk. So anyway, thank you very much. You did say what your name was in here, just so you know.
I did. I know. I let it slip, but it's all good. It's all good. It's a quick one.
Anyway, thank you very much. I will see you over on Geek Dad Life. Check him out, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. The link is in there. And if you haven't heard of Geek Dad Life, I don't know where you've been in the toy world. So,
yeah.
Quip, take care. Have a wonderful night. And I will talk to you guys all later.